Hey everybody, GameHounds podcast. We're back, surprisingly enough. I don't know how long I'm going to be back for. It all depends on whether my internet stays up and whether my electricity stays up, because we are in the midst of a hellacious windstorm right now. So yeah, it's
I mean, speak for yourself. I'm on the fourth floor of a building, and I see nothing. We
yeah,
have no
but
wind, nothing. It
there's
looks
no
fine
wind.
here.
Are you serious? There's really no wind?
I
'Cause, I
mean,
mean, I just saw an emergency message from your county on the news about how watch out for trees, stay away from the coast. It's pandemonium out there.
nope. There's some really thin trees that'll
Yeah, but that's what these
but
windstorms
but
are,
that's
is
it.
it's it's
That's
not
it.
blowing right now, but a and now it's picked up again,
No,
and
see, I
it's howling out here.
I don't see this supposedly storm level wind affecting me personally in
Okay,
my
so then
like two
it doesn't
block in
exist.
my 2 block view of the world. Therefore, it's not happening.
It's not happening. I
And
got it.
everyone else is just lying and making stuff up.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, if I can't see it within the 2 blocks that I live in, it's just a lie. It's just a conspiracy theory.
Well, then let's
It's
I
just
will
big wind trying to scare you.
I big
No,
win.
not big wind. Who's against big wind? It's big ground trying to make you afraid of big wind. It's
Got
big
it.
oil trying to make you afraid of big wind.
Got it. Okay. So I'm gonna try
See, keep your eyes
share
open.
something with you if it will let me. Apparently not. Okay, let's see. Open with preview.
Are we live?
Yeah,
Where's
we're
AC Wraith?
I
He's
don't know.
here. Are
I'm
you
sure
okay?
there's somebody there.
AC Wraith, did you get blown away? Did the wind get you? Did big oil get you? Big oil kidnapped you and is gonna blame it on big wind.
Yeah, so I am going to yeah, let's share this. Okay, so I'm walking my dogs today. And I hear from behind me across the street this huge bang, right?
Mhm.
That's the it used to be a church, now it's a Dharma center.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, and how I mean, it was not a rickety gate. It was literally blown off of stand by. Uh, it was literally blown off. I don't know if you can see this.
The wood is shattered. It broke
The
the wood.
wood is shattered. Yeah, the wood is absolutely, like, pulled off, broken off.
Yeah, that's a gate that was, like, at the end of a wind tunnel, and it just
It
didn't
it
take
hit
it.
it and just ripped it right off of the redwood beam, and it's a relatively brand new gate. I mean, they put it up maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
They had these all redone. So yeah, it's bad out here. It's very, very bad. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised I
Yeah,
still have
I'm
electricity.
doing
I'm
fine,
astounded.
but this
Oh
is
gosh.
my parents',
Here,
the tree out
send
front.
that text to me on text. Send that picture to me
Wait,
on
I should
text.
be able to get
Yeah, send it to
it
me
needs
on
to focus. There we
there we go.
go.
Wow.
That's across the sidewalk. That tree has been in front of our house my entire life.
Not anymore. You'd be
Nope.
gone.
But that's also not all
Mhm.
because, in their backyard,
Oh,
another
wow.
tree fell across the porch.
I'm really surprised that the patio furniture survived.
The patio, it just missed that. Like, where the tree is, it's a big wooden porch, a deck. Like this
Uh-huh.
whole area is a deck in front of the like old hot tub gazebo. If
Uh-huh.
anything, it's unfortunate that it didn't land on the hot tub gazebo because that thing has been empty and rotting for like a decade. And at least if a tree landed on it,
Right.
you could clean it up as like part of
Right. Get a little homeowner's insurance and get a new gazebo.
Unfortunately, the tree just landed on the deck.
Yeah.
And the deck's pretty fine. The house is fine. My parents are fine. But
Yeah.
they have a lot of cleanup to do.
Yeah. So
the city has a lot of cleanup to do for them.
If I disappear or if Nick disappears, or both of us disappear, that is why. It's actually been really calm ever since we started the show. Maybe the wind is watching. But yeah, if you start hear howling in the background, that in fact I might stop and like put the microphone up to the window so you could hear it. That is the wind howling through my windows.
And if something were to like
getting a lot of lag. Oh, okay. No. That sucks.
Mostly through Twitch.
Interesting. Well, that's not me. If it's going through on YouTube, then that's a Twitch problem, not a me problem. At least for the moment. So, let's start the show. That way I can feel like we're doing this right, even though it seems pointless. But
wait, what seems pointless?
To do the intro, but it's a thing.
Okay.
It's a thing.
We have a lot to get to, so
yeah. All right.
This podcast discusses video games, modern culture, and technology, and these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 705. We are recording this on Sunday, February 4th, 2023. I'm Edie, 2024. I'm Edie Sellers with these Nick T. Nicola. Yeah, I'm still getting used to that. I'm still catching, and normally getting the years wrong isn't an issue other than it just being like a little funny, except I'm constantly dealing with contracts and writing contracts, and I am writing 2023 on a lot of stuff.
Oh no.
And yeah, and only in the last minute, like, oh fuck. One of these days I'm going to have somebody sign a contract for last year. So, hi, how are you?
I'm good.
How was your week, Nick? Did you do anything interesting?
Not this week. I played a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I saw you were playing Cult of the Lamb last night. I almost, the things I do for this show, I almost tried to entice you to play some Baldur's Gate, but you were playing Cult of the Lamb. I knew you wanted to play Cult of the Lamb for the show, and I wanted to have you talk about something other than Baldur's Gate.
I wouldn't have played.
Oh, really?
I wouldn't have joined you.
Really? We just to catch up with where we had to redo it because we fucked up everything in the last 20 minutes.
About that.
Yeah, we just had to go back and redo the stuff that we fucked up on. Yep. Oh, did we make a bad mistake?
We decided to side with the goblins. We attacked the grove.
And
we fought through the first area, killed Zevlor, who's like a main character there, and we were going to rest before going on to continue to attack the grove.
Yes.
At that moment, when we did a long rest, that's when Shadowheart and Lysel decide to start fighting over this artifact.
Right. Not a spoiler really, because it's so early in the story, but yeah, Shadowheart and Lysel do not like each other.
No.
And the whole thing about the artifact is this Githyanki want the artifact, and that's what Lysel was there for. Shadowheart has the artifact, and she does not want to let it go. Certainly not to a Githyanki and to Lysel, who she doesn't like. And there is like this event that happens in an overnight where Shadowheart they get into it before you take a rest. Yeah. And then when you take the rest in the middle of the night,
you could have diffused it before taking a rest.
Right. But Nick chose not to diffuse it. So, of course, Shadowheart shows up in the middle of the night with a knife to essentially, just sneaks up on Lizelle and puts while she's sleeping and puts a knife to her neck and says she's going to kill her. And Nick once again,
You could diffuse the situation in that moment.
but Nick chose not to.
And eventually got to the point where I had to pick a side. So I chose Lizelle. And that meant that we started a fight in our camp with Shadowheart. And ended up, I thought we could salvage it by turning on non-lethal damage and knocking her out. But then in the cutscene that played immediately after, my character was like, did we really have to kill Shadowheart? So, oh, she's dead.
Yeah, Shadowheart's dead.
And at that moment, we decided, you know what?
No. And then, because Shadowheart is killed by Lizelle, and because we sided with Lizelle, Karlak bounces. Will bounces.
No, they bounced before.
Oh, that's right. They bounced before that too.
They bounced before because we
sided with the goblins.
And so at that point, we lost Will, we lost Shadowheart, we lost Karlak, and at that point, we're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just keep going.
No, we didn't say let's keep going.
I did.
You did.
I started attacking Gale and killed Gale. I started attacking you. I think maybe I started with you, killed you, because me and Shadowheart.
You killed everybody. You killed everybody in the team, and then you tried to commit suicide and couldn't.
I couldn't do it. So eventually, I
resurrected me so I could kill
resurrected you. I had Lizelle kill my character. But Lizelle doesn't have anything that can hurt her. So I brought you back to life.
So I could kill Lizelle.
Could cast Cloud of Daggers. Which I forget what the order was. I think because if you die, the spell ends, right?
Right. No, Lizelle died, and then
you walked into the Cloud of Daggers.
I either walked into the Cloud of Daggers or I threw a bomb at my feet. I can't remember what I did.
Yeah.
But I ended up killing myself. So I could do the and
then we
murder suicide pact.
Yeah. We killed our entire camp.
Yeah, we killed our entire camp. So we have to go back and unfortunately, Nick had not saved prior to any of that happening.
So we have to go back to the fight.
So we have to go back to the extermination of the tieflings in the Druid
Which is
Grove.
not bad. It's only like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Having had time to think about my actions, I have decided that yes, we should broker peace between Shadowheart and Lizelle.
I think that's wise.
Because I cannot wait to see Shadowheart kill the Night Song.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to see her become a Dark Justiciar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. Taking a step back and thinking about it on a grander level. What's been really fun about playing through it again with this different character that I purposely am trying to make. I'm purposely trying to be a bad guy, but I don't want to be like a sadistic bad guy. And so what I've ended up doing is getting into the role-playing aspect of it a lot more, which has also made me think about the other character I'd have. And so it's an interesting contrast because when I think about the other character I was playing has this young woman who was a noble in Baldur's Gate, who was studying history and arcana, and then got swept up by the Nautiloid and put on this grand adventure. And what I realized, thinking about it, is oh shit, she's basically a college girl, right? Studying magic and history in Baldur's Gate and then getting swept up. And it's oh, you know what? That also kind of explains why she's trying to sleep with everybody. It's not just me being a gamer. It's just her being a horny person. But then you get to the end of Act 2 and it's oh wait, all of a sudden this college girl out on a fun adventure suddenly realizes the fate of the world is on her shoulders. It's like, oh
Right.
shit, this just got real.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to have that moment of like, because before I'm playing it kind of not thinking about the character, right? I'm making the decisions I want to make based on where I want to see the game go. But I'm not really role playing a character until that moment of escalation when I kind of realized, like, why does this feel so big? Oh, it's because she's basically a college girl suddenly with the weight of the world on her shoulders. And so going into this other character, purposely making wrong decisions, and now like trying to justify character-wise why he's making those decisions. It's led me into like its interesting role-playing aspect of the game, where with the other character, I see him as more of a kind of an incel-like guy. Has like, I was out in the woods studying the blade while you were studying history, except the blade is his fist because he's a monk.
A monk, right.
And then he gets swept up in this adventure.
Monk's gone wild.
And then he gets swept up in this adventure where a cult is telling him that he's basically a saint. And he's like, I am a saint. Absolutely. Yes, I want to side with these people who respect me, who I can boss around. And then he meets Lizelle, who basically encourages all of his worst impulses and is like, I'm in love with this woman who basically doesn't care that I'm an asshole to everybody. And it's like, oh, I feel the dark character growth of someone who's not like sadistically evil, but who's just like, oh yeah, these two chicks are fighting. Let's see which one dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm leaning into my character backstory quite a lot as well, and doing more of the role play.
Mhm.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I've been thinking about that a lot too, because I'm kind of at this point kind of palling around with Asterion,
Mhm.
mostly because I did not really progress my story with Asterion in my main game. So I've kind of ignored that whole thing. I missed. Whoa. Okay, that was the garbage cans.
Oh, we didn't hear anything.
No, you didn't, but okay, all right. You know, we're still alive. We're still here.
Okay, that's good.
Because I missed all of the Asterion development of that friendship. So this is all new to me, which is why I'm leaning very hard into Asterion. And right now, there's kind of two characters that I could see really playing well with this kind of dark side that you're decided to pursue, and that I'm kind of going with you. And I was not okay with it at the beginning, and then now I have become more okay because I've embraced what you said. That let's do this completely differently. Let's do the other extreme. And thinking about that other extreme, there's two characters that are open to me in my character, and that would be Asterion and that would be Gale. Both
Okay.
of them, for different reasons, are very, very motivated by power. And
That's true.
I'm seeing myself as kind of like this innocent bard who's kind of like, kind of chaotic neutral, a little bit like, hey, I could go either way. And then becoming either involved with either Gale or Asterion, or both maybe, and becoming this person that slowly is a frog being boiled in this kind of like the being seduced by the desire for power.
We're corrupting your innocence.
Not so much saying corrupting my innocence. It's just that I'm kind of there, and I'm a bard. I don't, as bards go, bards, I don't want to say they only buff, but bards are kind of about kind of staying back and going with the team. And then you've got your character kind of going one direction. And then I've got kind of like this person that I'm developing a relation with who's got very much a dark side. And then it's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm seeing at a certain point that there is going to be a relationship either with Gale or with Asterion or with both, where both of them make decisions to usurp power from the bad guys in this thing.
Okay, Shepard. That's
God.
too much.
God. So I'm leaning into this role play as well. And what really sucks about all of this is that
Aw.
as I'm playing my regular game and I'm heading towards the end game, I'm having to remind myself that I'm not. I don't want Asterion to kill everyone and take power and become like the ultimate vampire. I want Asterion to be a better person. And I've had to actually restart because I fucked up. And it's like, oh yeah, I really didn't want him to do that. But then I go back and replay it again just to make sure that that's exactly what I want to do. Because there was a part of me that was like, okay, I kind of want Asterion to be the ultimate vampire, because if that's going to help me beat the final boss.
And
But
justify the means.
right. But then you get into it and you realize the implications of what it will take in order for him to be that person. And then all of a sudden it becomes a little more difficult to make that decision. And I opted not to.
No. Okay.
Even though I made some decisions for myself to embrace some power that I won't mention because it's a bit of a spoiler. And I allowed Gale to make some decisions to embrace some dark power. I don't say dark, but a otherworldly power. Everybody else is like, fuck no. And I could convince them, but I'm trying not to. I may still ask Asterion to embrace that power as well. With the faith that it will all be made right in the end.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I
Nothing
don't
can
know.
go bad.
I don't know. I mean, of course it could go bad, but
nope, it'll be fine. Like, really, what's the harm in creating an ultimate vampire?
No, not the ultimate vampire. I did not do that with him.
Oh, okay.
But there is other power that I had
okay.
embraced that Gale was okay with embracing, and he did. And Asterion, I may try to convince to embrace it, but everybody else is like, fuck no. No, why would I want to do that? Are you nuts? I mean, you did it, but don't ask me to do that. Now, I could persuade them. I have opted not to do that. But I'm also doing that with a certain amount of hope that there's a happy ending at the end of this decision, which there very well may not be.
Okay.
For me, at least. And Gale. And maybe Asterion. We might be dooming ourselves, and I don't know that.
I mean, that makes it such a good story, right?
I don't know.
Do we capture this power
that will give us a definitive edge over
evil?
this? Yeah, that will make us far more powerful so that we can actually achieve this good ending that we want for the rest of the world. But does it mean that we're certifying our own doom?
I mean, that's just good fantasy hero storytelling.
When you get into Act 3, it is nothing but that. If you stop thinking about what's happening as a matter of pixels and you start thinking about a lot of NPCs in the matter of people, the decisions start to get very, very difficult, i.e. the decision that I made I wanted to make for Asterion, and then I got there and I realized what would have to happen for Asterion to make that decision. Betrayals of people that were completely innocent that we promised we would do something about. When we made that promise, we did not realize what that would mean down the line. And as we got there, it's like, oh shit. Oh no. Okay. Do I really want to make this decision now? Knowing what I know now, what it's going to cost in order to do that, what it's going to mean. That's what the entire third act is. It is all these very big, like, oh, it's not an easy decision here. Am I okay with doing that? Am I okay with murdering tens of thousands of people for just this one thing to happen? Am I okay with wiping out an entire city for me to be more powerful? Right. See, that's the thing. If you stop thinking about them as pixels and stop thinking about it as a game and start thinking about it as the moral implications of what you're doing, it becomes so much more of a rich game. It becomes the kind of game where you literally go, fuck, what should I do? Shit. Do I really, really, really want to do this? Am I okay with not, I mean, if you think about it as a game, yeah, sure, why not? They're just fucking pixels. If you're not thinking about the pixels, you're actually thinking of the morality of the decision that you're making, not only for yourself, but also for your character, for everyone around you. Those decisions come real hard. Real hard, which is what, and goddamn, the fights are so much more tactical. So much more tactical.
All that sounds really awesome. I as I was playing just games this week, I kept thinking like, oh, you know what? I'm kind of feeling the bug to go back to Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. What notifications am I getting? What? Somebody's in my office entryway? Stand by. Okay, talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back, okay? I need to take care of this. I want to make sure that we're not getting robbed.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, while she's doing that, I can talk about we had played the finals with Chris on Monday, I think. But the reason we did that is because I didn't want to play Pal World. I tried Pal World. I put it on. I can't remember if I talked about this or not. But it has the issue that I think a lot of survival games have, in that the beginning is just really, really slow. It's you punching rocks, punching stones to get that basic level of resource so that you can kind of ramp up your base. And that base building, it's fun. And I see the joy there, especially the way it interacts with the Pokemon-esque characters, the pals. I see how that works. I get how it can be addicting, just like compelling, but it also takes a while to get going. I played it for an evening, and just as it was beginning to ramp up a little bit, just as like I was beginning to hit that point of automation where I could get the pals to start doing things for me, my character fell through the geometry of the world. I got stuck in a mountain, and I tried to get out. I tried climbing. I tried hitting things, didn't work. So I closed the game, opened it back up, and my character was still stuck in the mountain. And so that, coupled with the slow start, really kind of it just killed the momentum for me. Oh geez. Okay, Ty Shepard. It killed the momentum of the game for me, and I didn't want to have to go through those early hours again, because those early hours were really boring. If I'm punching rocks and punching trees, and the moment I start getting to the point where I don't have to do that, I encounter a glitch that will make me have to do that again. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I still really respect the game. Like what I played, I can tell that it's a pretty elaborate survival game, and especially the way you can get pals to do things for you. It's really cool. I just wish that it got started a little faster. I just wish that that early game grind wasn't as long and wasn't as grindy. And so I stopped playing that. We played the finals, me, Edie, and Chris, but we can talk about that when she gets back. I've also played more of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and unfortunately, I think in the same my time with it. Oops, this says we're having trouble. This may be an issue on Twitch's end. We will let you know if it's resolved. Please check Twitch. It looks like the stream stopped. It looks like we stopped streaming on Twitch. AC Wraith says if you have a flying monster handy, you can grab it to get out, I guess. I do not. I have not seen any flying monster. Okay, it looks like we're back on Twitch now. So, okay, with that said, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I still really like all of its individual components. The platforming feels great. The combat feels great. The story is really interesting. The world is pretty interesting. But it's just navigating through all those platforming challenges over and over and over again is really starting to wear on me, to the point where I kind of just decided to put it down. Like, maybe I'll go back to it if I kind of start to feel a Metroidvania itch, but I realize the problem I have with it is something that other reviewers have brought up as well. Everyone brings up the fact that there are too few fast travel points. But for most people, it seems like that's just a kind of minor irritant. Whereas for me, it was a bit bigger. It feels like it's kind of structured like a Souls-like game, where you get to a checkpoint, a tree in this case instead of a bonfire, and then you kind of explore through the world. You find a path. You kind of fight your way through that path. Maybe it's a tough platforming challenge. Maybe there are some tough enemies there. But you fight your way along a path until you get to the next checkpoint. And then you're like, hey, this is my new base of operations, and I'm going to, from here, push forward to keep exploring. The problem with Prince of Persia is that that new base of operations is never really your new base of operations, because you'll... Oh my God, I'm watching that video and like I can see that platforming challenge that it was asking you to do, like that's legit. I think he has all the powers he needs to do that. But dude, that was hard. But anyways, back to the point. So that in Prince of Persia, when you unlock a new checkpoint, that's not really your new base of operations. In a Souls-like game, you fight tooth and nail to get from checkpoint A to checkpoint B. But once you get to checkpoint B, you don't have to go back to A. You don't have to go back to that A through B challenge. You don't have to fight those enemies. You don't have to explore that area. You have made progress in the world, and that progress is permanent. You don't have to go back and repeat it. In The Lost Crown, when you fight your way to a new checkpoint, you have to go back. You have to go back to the previous checkpoint to do that. If you want to explore the world to find anything else, you then have to go through it again. And it just lent me a feeling of not hopelessness, but a frustration with the progress I was making, because I didn't feel like I was making any progress. You know, I would fight to get to a new checkpoint, and then the moment I did, I thought, okay, I found a locked door. Well, I just fought through this area, got to a locked door. What do I do now? I can either fight my way all the way back to the checkpoint, or just let myself die and respawn at the checkpoint.
Mhm.
And at the point where I'm deciding to kill my character to respawn at a checkpoint rather than travel through the world, at the point where navigating through the world, I would rather just kill myself and respawn than travel through the world. I feel
Yeah,
like that's a sign
a
of...
sign that you're not enjoying the game.
yeah, something has gone wrong. And so, while I really love all the individual components, I just think they lose a lot in how they're brought together.
Mhm.
until I didn't like exploring the world. I wish it was level based because the controls are great, the platforming is great. That kind of insane challenge you saw in the video, I would love a level of that. Like if I could just focus on that challenge and once I finish it to know I don't have to do it again, that would be awesome.
Hmm.
But in this game, I know that I would do that and then I'd probably have to do it again an hour later.
Right.
So I put down the Lost Crown for now. Just not
I
feeling
don't know
it.
that from the
It's
sound of it, I don't think you're ever going to go back to it.
probably not. And it's a little disappointing because all the podcasts I've been listening to, everyone's just like, "Yo, this game is awesome. This game is so great." And it's like, I wish I felt what those people do.
Yeah.
I wish I felt
I
the
know that
hype.
feeling.
But the game I did feel the hype for, that I feel bad after waiting so long for it, Cult of the Lamb takes all the issues I had with Power World and solves them. Because
Did you talk about how much you didn't like Pal World?
I did. Well,
Okay.
and it's not that I hated it. It's that I just thought the early game grind was too slow and too grindy. And then I got stuck in a wall and I would have to do that early game again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. RRR. Have you seen RRR? Random Rick Reviews?
No.
Says there's just going to be some mushroom head behind that door to tell you your princess in another castle.
Another castle.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You fight all the way, you solve a challenge, and then you encounter that Toad asshole, and you're like, God damn it, Toad. He also says Souls-like is usually a deal breaker for me. That's like my catnip.
Yeah, it really is Nick's catnip. I can't stand Souls-like either. So I'm right there with you.
But okay, I've said before that I generally don't like survival games. I've also said before I generally don't like roguelikes. Cult of the Lamb is a survival base building roguelike game. And it's fucking awesome.
Yeah?
It's so good because the loop that it gets you on is really tight and there's always something. Saturday, maybe Friday, I was talking with a friend. We stopped talking like around 1 a.m. and I was like, okay, I'm going to play this for like another hour and then go to bed. So I stopped playing and then I hit a point where I'm like, okay, I think this is good. Look at the clock and it's 4 a.m. And it's like, oh shit. Okay. You play as a cute little lamb who was sacrificed by these 4 old gods in order to stop a prophecy from being fulfilled. But as you die, you encounter the one who waits in this like limbo area. And the one who waits says, I'm going to bring you back to life, but you will be my servant. You will start a cult in my name, and I will give you power to kill the 4 gods that you were sacrificed to, because those 4 gods are keeping me captive. So I will bring you back to life to act as my servant to free me. And so that's the justification for why you can go on these roguelike dungeon delves, die, and then come back to life. Because every time you come back to life, it's just the one who waits reviving you. But the game is split really well into a kind of survival-esque base management and the roguelike dungeon delving. On the base building side, it's so detailed. There's so much going on, but it never gets overwhelming. And unlike Power World, I think that it does a good job of making that early game really compelling in and of itself. At the point where I am now, I have enough cult members that they are doing the mining. They're getting the stone. They're getting the wood. They're planting the food. They're cooking the food. They're cleaning up after themselves. Like I've kind of got into this nice automated base where all of my followers are doing all the things I used to do. And that gives me more of a chance to kind of focus on the dungeon delving. But in the early game, it's doesn't feel boring having to farm wood and stone, because for the most part, you can get some of those while doing the dungeon delving. Very early on, like very quickly, in the beginning, you automatically get like 1 or 2 cult members, I think. Like you start with a group of cult members. So right away, you have someone who can chop some trees or mine some stone. And that makes it a little easier because you kind of already are starting ahead of the game. Of course, it goes faster if you help yourself, but then you have to make beds for your cultists. And then you have to feed them. So you have to gather some food and do the cooking for them. But all of the food comes with the drawback. Hey, it will satisfy their hunger, but there's a 15% chance they might poop instantly. And if they do that, you have to clean it up.
Sounds like my cooking.
A large part of the game is literally cleaning up your cultist shit.
Oh no.
At least in the beginning, you're like, because they're just shit everywhere.
Oh
Or
god.
what I've also seen, what's really funny is at one point I built an outhouse, and someone ate something that would make them vomit, and it triggered it. So I saw that character run to the outhouse, get 90% of the way there, and then they vomited right in front of the outhouse. And
Oh.
it's like, God damn it.
So, what are your cultists also animals, or are they people?
No, they're little animals.
Okay.
You get dogs. You get like birds, you get dogs. If you get dogs, you can pet them to increase their loyalty to you. Because the other mechanic is all of the cultists have a individual loyalty meter for them.
Mhm.
And if that gets low, they might start dissenting. They might start speaking falsehoods about your cult. What do you do then? And what I encountered is you can build a prison, but it takes you a little while to get to that point. And so before then, I had to deal with these goddamn dissenters with a microphone, not a microphone, a megaphone, just shouting falsehoods and blasphemy about my cult. And I couldn't do anything to stop them. You can try to re-educate them, but the way dissenting works is every day that goes by, their dissent gets a little higher until they decide, I'm going to leave the cult. And usually when they do, they'll take something with them, usually money. They basically steal from you and flee.
Mhm.
If you can re-educate them to the point, like every day you give them a little bit of re-education, that will lower it and it will make it last longer. But the dissent is always a little bit higher than the re-education. So that means you can't ever really stop them just through re-education alone. You might have to like praise them to get their loyalty up, give them some presents, right? Bribe them. You can't just re-educate them until you get the prison. Because what the prison does, and the prison is a stockade, like get the head and arms in there. So I've
Mhm.
got a stockade literally in the middle of my base where all the dissenters are just, show them off. But that stops the dissent from growing. So if someone starts dissenting, put them in the stockade, and then you can take all the time in the world to re-educate them slowly. So that's one system you have to deal with. Then you also have to deal with, feeding your cultists. You have to deal with cleaning up after them. Like I said, poop is a big thing. Poop is like an actual, it
Concern.
matters. But also, every time you clean up poop, that gives you fertilizer, which you can use in your farming. Because if you put a berry seed, then when it grows, you might get like 3 berries out of it. But if you add fertilizer, you'll get like 6 to 9 berries out of it. So it's a significant upgrade. So you want to clean up the poop because that gives you fertilizer, which helps you grow more, which helps you feed more. And once you start realizing that and you see how all of the systems are interlinked with each other, and so as you improve one system, that helps you to improve another system, which helps you to improve another system. And it just creates this loop of like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going, I'm getting my cult, I'm doing this. And then as you go, you can implement new doctrines for your cult. Let's say I want to implement funerals. So every time someone dies, because people age, your cultists will age, they will grow old, and they will die. What happens when they die? Well, usually when they die, they'll lose faith. But if you implement the doctrine of belief in the afterlife, every time someone dies, they lose less faith because your cultists aren't as sad.
Mm-hmm.
You could also implement like funerals to kind of get some faith back after someone dies. Weddings, if you want to like increase loyalty with a specific follower, you can marry them. You can implement ritualistic fight pits and have two of your cultists fight to the death for the loyalty and your love. You could implement sacrifice. You could implement ascension. You could implement bribery so that you can bribe your followers with to be more devoted to you. Or what I love is resurrection, because if you work to increase the devotion of a cultist and they hit like level 7 devotion and then they die, it's like shit. That's my most devoted follower dead. What do? Just bring them back to life. And that has like changed the complete makeup of the cult, because now as I get more and more people into it, I'm like, you have to be at least level 5. If you die before you hit level 5 in devotion to me, I'm not going to revive you. But if
Mm-hmm.
you get to level 5 and I start realizing, oh shit, I'm deep into the Scientology wormhole. Like I've fallen into the cult pit. Like you have to devote yourself to me and then I'll resurrect you. Otherwise you stay dead. But all of that is in service to the dungeon delving, which is you entering one of the realms of the 4 gods, fighting through a series of challenges to then kill the god. And the combat feels really good. It's fast, it's snappy. The magic abilities you get are really fun and clever. The weapons you get are really cool. And it's just a game that feels really good to play, in addition to having just a perfect. The analogy I always think of is, those trust exercises where people will stand in a circle and they all sit down at the same time, so that I'm sitting on your knees, you're sitting on someone else's knees, that person is sitting on someone else's knees, all the way around till someone's sitting on my knees.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, we're all supporting each other. If any one of us moves, everyone else will fall. But because we're in this perfect circle, everyone is supporting everyone else and everyone can be sitting.
Right.
That's what the game feels like, where every system is supporting every other system.
It's all interconnected,
Yeah,
and
it's
if
a
one
perfect
fails,
clock,
then all fail.
like a perfect clockwork mechanism.
Yeah.
And so that, coupled with the fact that it moves fast. I played it all day yesterday, and I'm like maybe 75% of the way through. So it's not like a super long game, but that works because it doesn't have the slow grind in the beginning that other survival games have. This one is very interested in like, hey, we want you to get to the good stuff quickly. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to introduce the good stuff quickly. And it works great. It's an awesome base building game. It's an awesome roguelike game. It's just an awesome, like, the emergent stories that come out of it, of like, oh yeah, I'm creating this cult. I've got like 13 cult members, and so there's a clear delineation between the old guard and the new guard. Like, oh yeah, this guy's devotion level 10 to the cult, this guy's devotion level 1. We're going to give him the janitorial duties,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the level 10 is going to police everyone else.
Right.
And so you start getting into that. In the beginning, you don't really know your cultists. They're just a number. And the game really encourages you to, like, it says over and over again, you don't serve your members. They serve you. Use them, abuse them, and exploit them. But even with that in mind, like, you still, Barbados. Barbados is like my number 1 guy. When
Mm-hmm.
he dies, I'm going to revive him. And he's got a present, a necklace that will make him live twice as long as everyone else, because he's so good. He's good at gathering resources, good at getting devotion. He's become my number 2. But there's another guy who's at his same level. And so over time, you kind of a hierarchy of cultists starts to emerge. That's really fun seeing how they interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I'm loving it. I'm going to finish it. I don't know how long that will take me. Probably not too long, but I went from Power World, which is a little disappointing, to Prince of Persia, which was a little disappointing. Playing Call to the Lamb was nice to be like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is that addiction, that feeling of I don't want to stop. It's like, this is the game I was looking for. When I was looking for something to replace Baldur's Gate, this is what it was.
I'm oddly drawn to this because I don't like roguelikes at all, or likes at all. And this seems like it's kind of just enough not that it would let me keep going.
Like you do delve into the dungeons a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's an important way of getting through the story. There is a difficulty slider, so you can always turn it down to easy, or you can turn it up to super hard. But you can change the difficulty. I haven't had the game be super hard. I'm playing on normal, and I was able to get past the first 2 areas relatively easily. It was tough. I definitely had to level up my character and my cult, but because it's a rogue light, what that means is every time, God, there are so many different systems in this game. You go to church and you give a sermon, and that increases 1 meter. The devotion that they get from praying to you increases another meter. There are 10 different meters in the game that all give you something when they fill up and level up. And that's kind of one of the things that makes it such a compelling loop, is because there's always something to do. It's like, okay, I'm going to give a sermon. That's going to give me some XP, which I'm going to use to level up A. Then I'm going to gather some wood and do this and do that. And that's going to give me XP to level up B. I'm going to do this other stuff and level up C. And by that point, I can level up A again. And so it's just this loop, this really good loop.
Very satisfying, it sounds like.
Very satisfying.
All right, well, maybe. I'm going to put that definitely down on a maybe scale of things that I might be
look for it
interested in.
on sale. I picked it up on sale. I am excited because I got the Sins of the Flesh update, which I believe at a certain point in the end game, I can unlock the ability for cultists to have sex with each other and to have an orgy.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. Yeah. What a cute little lamb.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, anything else that you played? Because I'm still, we've already heard. I'm not playing Baldur's Gate. I have played a little bit more Pal World, but really, I'm now pushing on to finish up the lower city of Baldur's Gate so that I can get up to the upper city. I've gotten almost everything, and I don't want to hit any spoilers on anything, but I've got 2 big character quests, companion type quests. One is for Will and one is for Shadowheart. And so I've finished the one for Asterion. I did that yesterday, which was a highly tactical fight. And I had to kind of cheese it a little bit, but I got it. And then now I'm moving on to Will's, and I realized that I had made a story-based decision that I probably should have not done.
Oh,
I progressed a part of the story that made going back to do Will's thing a little more difficult, but I managed it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in the process of that. And when I'm done with that, then I'm going to try and hit Shadow Hearts. I believe hers is also in Lower City. I don't know for sure. I have to figure that out because I haven't kind of run across it. But I'm almost completely done with Lower City, and then I start heading into Upper City. I think I actually also have to fight the third member of. I've already beaten one of the other members of the triumvirate, the big baddies.
Yeah. Huh. I'm surprised that you would fight the third one in the Lower City. It
I
seems like that would be
believe
more of
you
an endgame thing.
I believe you do fight the other one in the Lower City. And then you have you have not heard all of the story, Nick.
Okay. I
All
know.
of the story is not clear. And
Clear.
you're going to find
Clearly.
out more as soon as you go into Act 3. The story gets bigger.
Yeah. I mean, it already entered like cosmic horror level areas. I have to kill Cthulhu.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe
Uh,
you do. You're gonna have to find out more later.
The one thing I hesitated on talking about was the finals because
Oh,
I
that's right. We
wanted
did play the finals, didn't we?
I wanted you to
I
talk
forgot
about
that.
You had a great moment.
Oh God, such a great. So it was Nick and Chris and me. We all played the finals together and we were having a terrible day of it. We were like
Mhm.
we were having difficulty getting into third out of fourth place. We had a lot of fourth place finishes, way more than we had. Chris and I played together, and we I think only finished once in fourth place. Generally speaking, we were second and third. But when Nick came on, I think that it was just much more, much better people to play against. And it seemed like the competition was tougher because that's really ultimately what that game comes down to is the competition, not how good
Mhm.
you. I mean, how good you are obviously plays a role, but the competition is the thing that makes it whether you do really well or not. But there was one particular match where we were struggling and we were doing okay, and then there was one of those. The finals are kind of have this thing that happens where if the if you'll go through a lot of the game where it's just kind of running around and you against a couple of other people. And then every once in a while there becomes this like room that becomes an absolute bloodbath because all the teams are there. And it's just one of those things that happens. It's sometimes around a box you need to pick up. Sometimes it's just that's the way it happened. It just everybody ended up in the same room, and then all these coins drop because the one that we were playing, was it what's it called? What's that that mode called? It's not quick play. It's
I forget.
yeah,
Banquet?
Banquet. That's what it is. And in Banquet, every time that you kill somebody, they drop coins. And the whole point is to collect coins and then get them over to a box where you deposit the coins. And when you get up to I think it's $40,000 that your team gets $40,000, it's over either that or whoever has the most amount of money in a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
And we ended up being in a match that that room full of just absolute fucking chaos, and Chris is screaming and Nick is screaming, and somehow some way I end up the last person on our team alive, and everybody else in the room is killed, and with the exception of a couple other people, and I'm just running in and collecting all the coins and then running out because of course now I'm carrying. I did not know how many coins I was carrying. I was carrying what 43,000 coins.
I don't it
Or
was
was it
like
37,000
I
coins?
think it was 37. It was almost enough to win, like just from one deposit
One
to go
deposit.
from 0 to win.
Right. and I had 37,000. I did not know how many I had on me. I knew I just had a lot, and I was running for my life because, of course, now everybody knows how much money. You can see how much money somebody has on them, and I'm running for my goddamn life, and I can't figure out how to get to a deposit because I was just going to run anywhere not there and go to another location to deposit because all of this fight had happened right around a deposit point.
And
And I
these
couldn't
levels,
figure out how to get off of the platform that we were on. And of course, I didn't want to take a risk and jump and die.
these levels are labyrinths. Like they're
Labyrinths.
purposely designed to be confusing. There's a verticality to it. You know, you're busting through walls. So
And some of them have like if you jump off a building, you just land on the ground. And there's some of them that
yeah,
are skyscrapers and you jump off a building and you fall into the abyss and die. And this was one of those fall into the abyss and die
yeah. So
ones.
every time you get to the edge of a building, you're like, if I jump off,
Am I
is there
gonna
going to be a platform below me, or is it just
right?
space?
You and I was trying to run to a bridge and the bridge was up and you can hit a button, but it takes some time for the bridge to come down. And I knew that I did not have time to wait for that bridge to come down. So I ran to one side of that building, realized I couldn't get off that building. So I just dodged back inside the building and essentially ran back around to that original deposit box that where all of the chaos had happened. And I guess because I had run away, nobody figured that I would back in and go back around. And I ended up depositing, and it was just Nick and
Mhm.
Chris screaming the whole time. What are you doing, Eddie? What are you doing? I don't know. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
Run,
God,
stay
I'm
alive,
trying
stay
to
alive,
get up,
run.
go somewhere. I'm trying. Yeah, but
It
it
was
was one of those epic wins where it's like I was shaking when I was
it
done.
was so nuts because we could watch you and then we'd respawn and we're trying to chase you down. And then like we would see you, you'd run past us, and then we're like, okay, let's run the way she was coming,
And try
intercept anyone behind her.
yes, that's what you
But
were doing.
but then we would get killed. And
Right.
so it's like, shit, they're right behind her. They're right behind
And
her.
you're
They
yelling at
killed
me, they're
me.
right behind you. And I'm like, I'm running. Edie, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm just running. And so I ended up just going back. I'm like, look, there's only one place that I know that I could get, and that's the one that we left. So I'm just gonna run back there. And it turned out that everybody
Mhm.
had left and it was left by itself. And it was such an epic win. And of course, I had to walk away for a second because I was shaking so hard.
Yeah,
When that game is
understandable.
good, that game is really good. And man, it is such a game that it's not just how well you play the game together and the strategic decisions you make about how you're going to play, but it's also about how well you can use your own equipment because it's not as easy. Like you forget in the heat of the moment the equipment that you have. I
Yeah.
forgot in that moment that I could have thrown a homing beacon and be able to see exactly where everybody was, a sonic
Oh.
grenade.
Huh.
Completely forgot because I was so panic stricken just running for my life. So it becomes a game about adrenaline. It becomes a game about knowing your character, knowing the equipment that you have, and using them to the best of your ability, um, and making sure that you are playing well together because you have to have team play, teamwork. You have to have
Mhm.
teamwork. That game does not work without teamwork. So, and it's God, it is such a smooth game. It's the smoothest playing game that I remember since Destiny. It's one of the things I loved about Destiny is it just felt good to play. I wasn't crazy about the game itself, but and I know a lot of people were, but I think that the reason why people stuck with it despite all of its initial problems was because it was it was just such a joy to actually play in it.
Yeah, it just feels good.
It felt good. And this game it's absolute butter to play.
Yeah. Playing it reminded me that the destruction really does add so much. Being able to bust through walls,
Oh
being able
god,
to destroy
yes.
things, it lends such a fun element to it, because in these labyrinth levels, you can do what Chris did, and he can be a heavy, and you can just run through walls
Right.
and make your own path. And
Or if you hear somebody depositing in the floor above you, if you have an RPG, you can
Mhm.
fire into the floor above you and make the whole thing drop down in front of you, and you can get all the money
yeah,
that they were
and
depositing.
that adds a just a different feel to it, knowing that you can blow a hole in everything. It just kind of changes the way you think about the environment, and it's so much more fun. And I know this comes from ex Battlefield devs, and it makes me wish that Battlefield just had this level of destruction again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it was at this level of smooth. It's just it's
Yeah.
so quick and live and just responsive, almost sometimes too responsive, because it becomes very hard to shoot because it is such a responsive game. And the guns themselves, you have a very limited amount of guns per different kind of character, because you have a light, medium, and heavy. Each type of character has its own weapons, and you can't mix and match. And they're actually very, very limited. So you have to level them up. And some weapons are really, really great for close combat stuff. Some are not. Like I was sporting a grenade launcher, and I ended up running up behind somebody who didn't see me. I'm literally right in front of him. I fire a grenade into his back, and it doesn't kill him because, of course, it bounces off his back. It's behind me. So it the weapons themselves are so very specialized to what they do best, and they don't do other things as well at all, that it becomes a real tactical decision about what you want to play and how you want to play it.
Yeah, I do wish that there were a bit more variety of guns. Right now, there's like
Yes,
one of each
Bankit
type.
sounds like the index in Warframe. Absolutely.
There's like one shotgun, there's one grenade launcher, there's like two assault
Uh-oh.
rifles, but like one's burst.
Did we just lose Nick?
What?
We just lost Nick.
What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. No, it
here?
was just a hitch. It was just a hitch. I thought we lost you. I thought we lost you due to power outage. That was what it looked like. You just froze,
Okay.
but you're back. Did you ever brown
Okay.
out?
No, but the moment I got a text from Rachel near the room saying, "Is your phone charged?" I'd be shocked if we don't lose power with all this wind.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. In fact, speaking of which, I really should charge my phone just to be on the safe side. How am I at? 62. Let me go charge my phone. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I mean, I've also
And
that
also charge your juice boxes.
you know the brick? Yeah, the brick that you gave me years ago. I have that, and I keep that charge all the time.
That thing is so good. God, I had two bricks. I bought one that like the one I got for you, which is amazing brick. I love that brick. They don't make it anymore. But that's
Really?
the best brick. Yeah. Best brick I've ever had, because it's got that LED that shows you what your power
Mhm.
level is, which is really nice. But I also bought Kevin a brick many, 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 many years ago for his birthday. And it's a big ass brick that you can actually has an actual like three prong plug in it, so you can charge your computer, and
Huh.
it's fantastic. I mean, you can run your computer for a good 2 or 3 hours off of that one, like a laptop,
Wow.
like running hard. So yeah, I gotta charge that, because that thing was not. I used that in Europe or in Bali all the time. So let me go charge that up. I'll leave you. Be right back.
Okay.
So if you want to hit the news, and we can just start talking about the news,
Yeah, let's start
because
that.
otherwise you're going to have to vamp and then do the news and do the intro and all that stuff. So let's hit the news. The news and commentary of the week in gaming with the gamer and gamer. Our first item is talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we'll just start with one that Edie doesn't have on her list. So a couple weeks ago there was some talk. It was more like industry rumors that Microsoft would start trying to bring. Oh, that's right. I gotta stop the theme. I think it's gonna restart. Where is it? Okay, we're good. Yeah, there were rumors that Microsoft would start putting some of its exclusives on other consoles, specifically Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush. So now there has been some data miners for Hi-Fi Rush that kind of supports that. Where is the freaking there? Basically, what they found was a couple shirts, like special shirts that you could put on your character that were suspiciously colored. Oh no, that's not the one. Yeah, promises horror. Okay, there were 3 shirts. One in green, that's kind of Xbox's color. One in blue, that's PlayStation color. One in red, that's the Switch color. So the one in green has the character holding a guitar with the words "Shadow Dropped," because Hi-Fi Rush was released on Xbox. It was one of those special announcements at the Game Awards, I think, of, hey, this game, it's out now. The one in blue, which is the PlayStation color, has him holding a guitar with the words "I'm here, baby." And the one in red has him doing the devil horn saying "Rock out anywhere." And just taken all together, it really feels like the kind of simple, goofy, meta cosmetic that you would do when you port a game to another console. So this just kind of lends credence to those rumors. And Microsoft still hasn't said anything about it, which makes me personally wonder, like, when they would make this announcement. If the rumors were spreading last week, now you have data miners finding even more evidence about it. If this stuff is in there, then the game, it has to be announced somewhat recently. And excuse me, I wonder if they will shadow drop it on PlayStation and Switch the same way they did for Xbox. That maybe the shadow dropped shirt with the Xbox colors isn't referencing it being shadow dropped on Xbox, but is referencing it being shadow boxed on the other consoles as well. The other thing that Edie didn't have is there was a documentary. Naughty Dog put out a feature-length documentary about the making of The Last of Us 2. And overall, it's just a good documentary about game development. But in it, Neil Druckmann says that he has an idea for The Last of Us Part 3. He doesn't say he's been writing it yet. He specifically says that he hasn't actually written anything about it, just that he has an idea about where the plot could go that would act as kind of a nice wraparound for Part 1 and Part 2. That's interesting in and of itself, that, hey, I for Last of Us being a game that feels like it has such a definitive ending, turning it into a trilogy is kind of interesting, but hey, that game sells like hotcakes. But if he has an idea for Last of Us Part 3 and he hasn't started writing it, that means that the rest of Naughty Dog is not working on it. We know that they were working on the multiplayer for Last of Us that has now been canceled after I do believe that they put out a statement that specifically said there were rumors beforehand that some people from Bungie came over to look at the game and kind of gave it a low rating. They said, hey, this isn't actually a good multiplayer game. It might feel good, but there's not enough of like a loop there to get people coming back. It won't work as a live service game, which is what it was supposed to be. A couple weeks after that, maybe a couple months, Naughty Dog issued a statement that said they're no longer working on it, that they've canceled it internally because it would take, if they were to make the game, release it, it would take the whole studio to support it. And that would change the entire studio culture if they went from making, really critically acclaimed single player cinematic games to a live service developer. And that was not a shift that they wanted for their business. So that's why they canceled it. But if they're not working on Last of Us 3, they canceled the Last of Us multiplayer game, they got to be working on something else, right? and we kind of have absolutely no idea what that is. So I'm very curious. They've kind of left Uncharted behind. They kind of wrapped that up. If they're like in the process of wrapping up Last of Us, like what else are they working on? There was a tease that people speculated was a new Uncharted game in a PlayStation commercial like late last year. No, I think it was like mid last year. And we still don't know what that game was, but that wasn't a Naughty Dog. So we'll have to see. But that's actually a segue into another thing that we can talk with you about. I don't know if you watched Sony's State of Play.
I did not. Did you?
I did.
Oh, good for you. Look at you overachieving.
Yeah. I don't have a list in front of me though of what was announced. Because,
I can look that up for you. State of Play Sony 2024.
because unlike Microsoft and their, hey, we're gonna have a thing that focuses on 5 games. This was, hey, we're gonna spend 40 minutes showing you trailers.
Yeah. Let's take a look. All right. So the first thing was Fizzant, working title of Hideo Kojima's new Not a Metal Gear game, which
Yes,
I had brought
and I
up.
believe you have this on your news.
Yeah. So, Fizzant, we don't know anything about it, but yeah, Hideo Kojima's next game is supposedly not Metal Gear, but it is an action espionage title.
Yes. Well, his next game is Death Stranding 2. His next game is
Right.
what was the Microsoft one? OD?
Maybe.
It was O something. And then his next game is Fizzant.
Right.
So Kojima has like the next decade of his career pretty well mapped out.
Yeah. So this
but-
is all we got. It's going to be creating, according to the tweet, cutting edge technology from the best talents from around the world, both film and video games. This is of course, this is an interactive game, but the look, story, and theme, cast, acting, fashion, sound, etc., all the level of digital entertainment that could be called a movie. So it looks like it's sort of like a digital movie.
Yeah, what I thought was most impressive is, or what I thought is kind of going under talked about, is this, when they were doing the interview, it was like a typical, I forget the CEO of PlayStation, but he's talking with Kojima and he's like, hey, Sony is going to give you all of our resources so you can make what you want. And it's like typical, executive talk of like, oh, we're going to support you all the way. But then there was this weird shot where it showed them on the set and Kojima like looked to the side and waved at the camera. And then the camera started to pull back. And it was like, is this a drone shot? They put a drone in the studio and then it flies out a window. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then it flies all the way back to show the Columbia Pictures studio that you had in the Twitter, in the X post. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, Sony owns Columbia Studios. That means when this CEO said Sony is going to give you, like, we're going to support you all the way, we're going to give you all of our resources, that basically means giving Kojima an actual movie studio to work with.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is kind of the big news here, that he's no longer working in the game space, right? He's like, no, we're going to give you a movie studio budget, a movie studio, like all the resources that a movie would have, you now have. And it's like, oh, that's kind of a bigger deal. That puts this game on a much bigger scale than Death Stranding 2.
Yeah. So this sounds, Kojima's really, bless his heart, he knows how to be a showman, and it definitely makes me very curious about what he's working on, what that's going to be. So we're talking about what, 10 years from now at this point?
God, at least. Although Kojima, that man knows how to release a game. Unlike Todd Howard, who will work on a game for 10 years and not release it.
True.
Who's the other people that we were joking would never come out? Oh, Dragon Age.
Yeah. Unlike BioWare.
Kojima, when he says I'm making a game,
Gearbox, another one.
Unless the studio shuts down like Konami, he will make that game.
Right. He's got, well, I don't know if he's very good as being a production manager or he's got very good people that work as a production manager, but
True.
they don't, it doesn't take them a decade to release a single game.
Yeah.
But we are talking about, given that we're talking like Death Stranding 2, then there's the next game, which is going to be the Microsoft one. Then there is,
and he's going back to Sony. Kojima's just playing the field.
Oh yeah, he because he can.
Mhm.
I would too. I would absolutely do that.
Like, you know what? I'm sure in retrospect he looks back and goes, "That disaster with Konami is the best thing that
ever happened to me." It really was. It really, really was, because now he can do anything he wants to. All he has to do is think of it and then say, this is what I want to do, and make other companies pitch him for why he should make it for them.
That's a good segue. If you can bring up the Death Stranding 2 trailer that they played during this, that trailer really looks like Kojima just unleashing every random ass thought he has ever had.
Yeah.
You can skip around. Specifically, you should get to the point where the guy dressed as a clown is wielding a guitar shooting electricity.
I'm working on it. You just keep talking. God, this looks amazing.
There's a whole new thing of Death Stranding 2, and you know what? Watching this trailer, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Watching this trailer, I have no idea what's going on, but Death Stranding, I thought, was just a really fun game. I thought,
who doesn't want a robot cat with wings? Come on, you know you want that.
Oh yeah, you haven't seen the talking marionette puppet that moves at a lower frame rate than the world around him.
Oh God.
I have no idea how this game narratively will connect together, especially because Death Stranding 1, I could not tell you what happened at the end of that game. If my life depended on it, I could not tell you. But you know what? The process of walking across this fictional America was really fun. It was really fun, loading up my character, walking out, and then building a road. And that satisfaction of I walked and fought my way through the frontier, and then I created a road that will make me go forward and back way easier. That was such a good gameplay loop. Yeah. Now we get to you can skip ahead a couple of seconds because there's a whole bunch of dialogue. You got to get to him wielding his electric guitar.
I'm moving. There is quite a lot of
Yeah, see, there's the puppet, the talking marionette puppet that moves at a slower frame rate than the world around him.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of cool.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, you've got your baby again. There's some whole thing about the baby that was attached to you. Wait, keep skipping forward. There's a fight scene that happens that you'll know. There we go. Right? Jamming out on his guitar using an electric guitar as a rail gun.
Oh, jeez. God, Kojima, we love you. God, we love you. But yeah, and he's very much that kind of person who could just say, this is what I want to make, and how much do you want to pay me to make it for you?
That fight scene. That's actually a really good fight scene.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what's going on. It's completely ridiculous, but you know what? It's done really well.
Do I even want to know what this is?
I don't think you see.
Okay.
Yeah, it's who the fuck knows, but you know what? Kojima is just a guy. He knows how to create an image. The way I think about it is I think Metal Gear Solid is him doing Tom Clancy. Death Stranding is him doing David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to approach it. No one watches a David Lynch movie expecting it to be a cohesive, narrative, plot-driven thing.
Right.
you watch it for the vibes. And Death Stranding is very much a vibes game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, the PlayStation also announced a whole bunch of other stuff too.
Okay.
They did a deep dive into Rise of the Ronin, Team
Mhm.
Ninja's new game, which kind of looks like a mix between Sekiro and Assassin's Creed, which could be really cool. They say, I forget the name of the city that it takes place in, but it's in feudal era Japan, in a city that's like the first port to be opened up to the West. So there's like this interesting mix between Japanese architecture and Western architecture. And that kind of clash of civilizations is certainly going to play a role in the story. But like Assassin's Creed, you've got an old timey city that you kind of scale around. At one point, he grapples up to a roof and starts opening up a hang glider to fly
Mhm.
around. And it's like, this is absolutely Assassin's Creed. Like right here, I thought, oh shit, maybe I will really enjoy this game if this is the Assassin's Creed I've been waiting for.
Yeah, it kind of sort of does seem like that, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
God, it really does, doesn't it?
Other than
So
that, the combat looked interesting. I'm curious about it.
the combat reminds me a little bit of
Oh, the other Japanese game,
yes,
Tsushima,
Ghost of
Ghost of
Tsushima.
Tsushima. Yeah, it really does actually. Now that you mentioned that,
It's Ghost of Tsushima meets Assassin's Creed.
Hmm.
It's very much Ghost of Tsushima.
yeah. Some of the other things that got announced, there's an Until Dawn remaster coming to PS5, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's necessary, but hey, anything that keeps that developer working, I think is great. They did a deep dive into Stellar Blade,
Mm-hmm.
which is a PlayStation exclusive third-person action game that I'm really surprised is getting the attention that it is, because when you watch it, it feels like a horny anime action game that should have come out 20 years ago. It feels like the spiritual successor of Blood Rain or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Because it's like, oh, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Humans are gone, and you play as Eve, this robot sent to the destroyed Earth to kill all of the monsters there. And of course, there's a character named Adam, and there's like some Eden. There's a whole bunch of like Christian Genesis mythology there. But like your main character is this robot who's always walking around in very well rendered, beautiful outfits. Like
Mm-hmm.
the default outfit is like a skin tight leather classic anime soldier outfit, but then you see others of her in like a knit sweater. But it's like, but I'm looking at it going, that is a superbly rendered knit sweater. Like that knit sweater really shows off the graphical powerhouse of this game.
Yeah.
But it's also like, why the fuck? It's a costume. It's like, oh, this is gonna be one of those games that you just you can dress up the main character, right?
Right.
That dress up is part of it, and it's just kind of weird to me that it feels like a game from another era of gaming. I don't know if it'll be good. I don't know if it'll play good, but it's just like, oh yeah, let's have this sexy lady hack up some random ass monsters while we play dress up. Feels like it's from another era.
Yeah, but at the same time, its graphics are of this era.
True. So I have no idea if it will be good or not. It just strikes me as a weird, weird game.
Well, it's getting attention.
It is. And you know what? That knit sweater looked really good.
I'm waiting for the knit sweater to come up. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I'd have no idea where in the trailer it appeared.
I'm
Oh, wait.
looking.
Can I hit play? Can I switch around? This is riveting. It was like, at 4:49.
That one?
No. 4 minutes and 49 seconds?
We're at 5 minutes, 1 second.
No, yeah, go back. No, keep going back. Yeah. Oh. Do you have a different trailer than I do?
Maybe this is the one out of state of play.
Oh, no, I think you were just
There it is.
half a second.
Yep. Just a very bare
Yeah,
glimpse
yeah.
of a turtleneck, with knit turtleneck.
But it's just like, for some reason, that struck me as like, I kind of saw you get the fuzziness of it, the texture of it visually. And it's like, wow, that's actually really impressive.
There you go. There is the sweater, which has impressed Nick so much.
I don't know why, but I was just like, damn, that's a good looking sweater. Just look at the folds on the neck, right? Like, cloth is really hard to model in a video game.
True.
But they've modeled that cloth really fucking well.
Yeah, you can see the weft of it, spread over that edge where it's lifting slightly, and you can actually see the weft pulling.
And I just saw that and thought, like, that is impressive graphics. You want to show like, oh, show all your fancy effects, show off your ray tracing lighting? Nah, give me a sweater.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's Stellar Blade.
They had a trailer for Dragon's Dogma 2 that looks like again, it looks like Dragon's Dogma was a weird game. And this kind of looks like more of that, but with incredible graphics. And if we can just get Dragon's Dogma with incredible graphics, I think I would be happy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that game will sell well. It probably won't because Dragon's Dogma didn't. It may be like a financial misfire, but if we get a game out of it, that's all that matters.
So what did they say about this other than, did they show the trailer and then actually talk about it, or it was they just showed the trailer?
It was just trailer.
Oh, okay.
All of this was like just trailer. The stuff you saw with Kojima was like the only time someone else talked about it.
God, it does look good, doesn't it?
Right? There's a scene with an ogre in the forest that is fucking awesome. No, it's
that's
like
the Minotaur.
Yeah, it like comes out of the forest. No, I don't think that was it. You can just keep playing.
Right.
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma, it's a weird game. I only played the first one for a couple hours last year. Like, I remember talking about it, but I also remember really, really enjoying my time with it. It's the kind of game where there is a main narrative, but that's not really that. Like the way, if you go back just 10 seconds, that very quick scene of an ogre smashing through a forest and the way the trees, like the way he knocks around the trees. Yeah, I think it looks really cool. It's one of those games where, like I said, will it be a success? I don't know. Will I like it? Probably. So I count that as a win.
Okay.
There was speaking of shadow dropping stuff, Konami shadow dropped a short Silent Hill game called Silent Hill: The Short Message, which, from everything I've read about, sounds like it's decent. I read one review where someone was like, "Oh, I'm worried about it because it leans too hard into all of the Silent Hill tropes," which kind of feels ridiculous. But that was followed up by a longer trailer of Silent Hill 2, the remake coming from Bloober Team, that kind of focused on combat, and it looked like a third-person shooter in the same way that a lot of the Resident Evil games have kind of been updated for AC Wraith. A game with an ogre and a sweater will be Nick's goatee. Probably.
Yeah, would.
But yeah, in the same way that their older Resident Evil games have been updated to the kind of over-the-shoulder third person, it looks like they're doing it with Silent Hill. Like, we knew this, and it just kind of looks like, yeah, you're doing it. You're doing the thing that you set out to do. I don't know if it will be successful or not. I haven't really liked Bloober Team's games, but I want to be optimistic. And then I think probably the more interesting thing, they had a whole bunch of games, right? I don't know if we need to go through everything.
Yeah, stick to the ones that were most interesting to you.
Yeah, but the other most interesting thing is we got a trailer for Judas. Judas is the new game from Ken Levine, the guy behind
yeah, that's
BioShock.
right.
Who, if you remember, after BioShock Infinite came out, he basically shut down the studio saying, it's too big.
Yeah,
wanna
exactly.
go
He just
work."
pieced out of the whole thing.
He just pieced out, and that was like a fucking decade ago.
Mhm.
He's been working on this game in one way or another for like the past 10 fucking years. And you know what? It looks like a BioShock game.
Yeah, of course it does.
But like, it really looks like a BioShock game.
Yeah, but see, that's probably why he did it. Is it? I do this one thing, I do it very well, and if I keep doing it over and over and over, people are going to get upset. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do a bunch of any games for like a decade, and then I'm going to come back and have it be a BioShock game, and everybody will be super happy about it because it's like BioShock.
Yeah.
Also, he's probably waiting for BioShock to just kind of disappear off the, like wait for, I don't want to say a generation, but like a gaming generation.
I mean, I know that Take-Two owns the rights to BioShock, and I know they've been working on another BioShock game,
Right.
but that thing has been stuck in some sort of hell.
Exactly. So he's just like, you know what? You're not going to release a BioShock game? I'll release a BioShock game.
Yeah. He had described this in the past as like a game with narrative Legos. He kept using that terminology to describe it. And so it's not clear exactly what he means by that, but the idea is that it's a game that will kind of use narrative Legos to tell its story, that will kind of piece together a story. I imagine it sounds like he's trying to create a game that will tell a procedural story in the same way procedural generation is used for roguelikes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my personal speculation. I don't know. It
God,
also
it really
looks
does
pretty
look
cool,
like a BioShock game, doesn't it?
right?
Full on. Fix what you broke. All right. In development, that's all we know about it.
Yeah. It looks cool. There's no date. We'll have to see if it's worth the wait.
Yeah.
And then really quickly, I'll just speed through some other stuff. The survival game V Rising is coming to PlayStation. Dave the Diver is coming to PlayStation with Godzilla as DLC. Zenless Zone Zero is from the makers of Genshin Impact. That's what it was.
Okay.
There's a Metro VR game coming, which looks cool. A also cool VR game called Legendary Tales that's actually out now. That kind of looked like a cool gothic horror RPG for PSVR. That looks neat. They showed off more of Helldivers 2, which could be cool. Foam Stars, which we can talk about later because that game comes out as has part of PlayStation Plus this month. Yeah, AC Wraith is linked to the GDC talk where he kind of first introduced this idea of narrative Legos.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything
And that
else?
was the state of play.
Okay.
I don't know between the two.
Overall
between,
impression? Impressed?
between Xbox and PlayStation. I don't know if I came out of either of those being like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. If anything, I thought Death Stranding 2 I'm most excited for between all of those things that I saw between both
mostly
publishers.
just because you're curious about how nutso it's going to be. But
And yes, and that's
Rise
mainly
of the
because
Ronin has me by the short curlies right now.
Rise of the Ronin could be really cool. And I'll admit, I'm excited for Death Stranding mainly because I played the first one, I liked the first one, and this is more of that, right? It's a known quantity.
Right. All right. So moving on to other news. My first item is, let me get down to my items. What do we want to talk about?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Suicide Squad.
Oh, Suicide Squad does not deserve the hate it's getting.
Well, I don't know that it's getting hate as much as it is getting a big giant meh from everybody. So you remember back in the days, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. There's this game that was a thank you. Another live action game that or I should say live service game
Mhm.
called Marvel Avengers. And it came out and everybody was excited about it, and then it sucked, and then it continued to suck, and finally it just
Kind of
like by the
petered out.
time it actually released, because it released as a demo,
Mhm.
it started not great and then proceeded to get worse to the point of where nobody was playing it.
I remember playing the demo and going, "There's
I
potential
I
here."
remember
Like,
playing the demo and going,
and you know what?
eh.
What's funny is I played the demo of both of those games, Suicide Squad and Avengers. Played the demo, thought it was like, this is okay, and didn't buy the game.
Yep.
But you know what? Between the two of those, I think Suicide Squad had the better demo.
Yeah, but it's also coming out at a time when live service games were on the decline.
I've
At the
thought
at the
about this a
lower end
lot.
of the of that cliff, and they just pushed it completely off the cliff. This is the post Marvel Avengers world,
I
and but let me get to the actual headline
okay,
about
okay.
Suicide Squad. Valve has released its numbers. Well, it's out now, and Valve has numbers about how many people are playing. Suicide Squad's day one numbers for its release are worse, and not just a little worse,
Okay, but
a lot worse
that's
than
also
what Marvel
just on
Avengers were.
PC.
Just on PC. True. So, according to SteamDB, which is the database that keeps track of these numbers, Marvel Avengers' first full day on Steam had a peak player count of 29,916, so just under 30,000.
Mhm.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has capped out on its first full day of Steam at 13,459. So,
Mm.
less than half of where Marvel Avengers started
I mean,
is where Just Kill the Justice League
I
is
wonder if
starting.
part of that is the whole like fool me once scenario,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
People
yeah.
people were
Oh, yeah,
excited for
absolutely.
Avengers. They dove in, but then they got burned.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No question about this. That this is we're living in a post Marvel Avengers world, and Suicide Squad, because it's decided to go down that same path, and it was similarly kind of hammered in the demo. That now people are not willing to take the chance and not willing to put their faith in the IP just because it is the IP.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, and I actually looked up when Avengers came out, and it was released in 2020.
Ugh,
And
terrible year.
terrible year. But
The
I
thing is
remember,
that they could have done really well, because that was the year that everybody was stuck at home playing video games. That game should have killed.
and I remember thinking, like, just the other day, if Suicide Squad came out like 2 years ago, and people were comparing it to Avengers, it would be a massive difference in
Yep.
reception.
Yep.
If Suicide Squad happened to come out in like 2021, like just a year after Avengers, people would be like, this is the game Avengers should have been.
Should have been.
This is what it was. And
Right.
like the reception would have been entirely
I
different.
don't know if the reception be entirely different, because there was a lot of hate by the way that they crafted the game itself. The fact that
True.
it's live service, that is the kind of the nail in the coffin. I think that the coffin is entirely made from the fact that people are not happy with the game itself.
A little bit. I think people are tired of the live service loot driven aspect of it.
Right, but there's also the whole complaint about the game not respecting the characters' origins and making them kind of
Really?
all play in different things. Like the fact that those at the
No.
shark people that don't know Suicide Squad are not drawn to it because of the bad press. People that know Suicide Squad are offended because it's kind of breaking character lore.
No. No, I don't think
That's
that's
what
the case
I
at all.
remember.
Because
People were pissed off about the fact that they
well,
were all just flying around.
yes, I think what
You have a shark
In-
flying.
in retrospect, like they actually do a good job, and the demo did this of like justifying that. Of like, hey, look, they break into the Hall of Justice of the Justice League and steal some gadgets from them, and that's why they can do it. And so it makes sense. And honestly, I've watched a lot of a streamer play this. The story and the characters leagues above everything else. Like the story and characters are far and away the best thing about that game.
Yeah.
It's actually, I remember I had said coming out of the demo, I can't wait to watch a all cutscenes in 4K video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That holds true. And you know what? That all cutscenes in 4K video on YouTube is really good. It's a really good superhero
I'm
movie.
curious if anybody who's listening right now, have you played it? I have not. I'm not a Marvel fan. I am not a DC Universe fan. I'm not a superhero fan. So it's, I mean, if everybody said it was the greatest game ever, I would absolutely play it. But I'm not drawn to it by the IP itself
Yeah.
because it's just not out of my wheelhouse. I'd never followed the Marvel Cinematic Universe or anything else, DC Cinematic Universe. None of it. So it's lost on me. It's pearls before swine. But if any of you have played it, I am curious about your thoughts. If you were one of those 13,000 in the world that were actually playing it on Steam on day one.
I mean, in terms of character and writing, like I've seen the Suicide Squad movies. I've even read some of the comics. Like I'm pretty familiar with the IP, and I think it does a good job of that. I think
But
the
it
issue
can't recover. This is a
the
day
issue
one.
people
This
have
is the highest it's going to be ever for
Oh,
this
on-
game. Is
on PC.
13,000 people in the world decided to play it
on PC.
on PC.
That doesn't count console.
I doubt millions are playing on console.
Maybe. Like, look, console
Are
player
they?
base.
Really, Nick? You
Look.
really think millions are playing when only 13,000 people are playing on Steam? Just
Console.
really?
The console player base is higher than PC.
True.
Always.
But
always and forever.
millions versus not even tens of thousand, a single 10 of thousand?
Maybe. Because the thing is, a game that sells 1 million copies is still a game that did really well. Like 1 million is still a kind of magic number.
Not for a game of this scale. Not for this kind of game. 1 million of like Cult of the Lamb, absolutely. 1 million of a game like this, no.
And
no.
that might get into a larger issue of like, hey, look, Rocksteady spent like 7 years making this game. Warner Brothers invested a lot of money into it. Maybe that was like a poor choice in the beginning. You put too much money into a niche product. But like I said, I think the largest issue people have with the game is the same issue I had with the demo, is that the combat is just kind of repetitive, right? It's a bit chaotic.
It's got notification. Ferry service is suspended.
Oh.
You mean only just now? This would be, oh man, can you imagine what it's like on the ferry now on a ferry?
Ooh,
Holy
it's probably
crap.
fun.
I know. It would be a vomit comet right now.
Yeah.
It is still very much blowing hard. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, it's calmed down over here.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, right.
No, it actually has. The trees are swaying less than they were an hour ago. Well, okay, there was like a gust of wind.
Yeah, no, it's not the consistent wind. This isn't a hurricane. This is gusts of wind. This is a windstorm.
Okay.
And yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I feel really bad for that game because it feels like a game that would just hit such a different reception if it came out 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like it missed the window of opportunity by that much. And now it's getting raked over the coals for like design decisions that were honestly kind of in fashion 18 months ago. If the game had not been delayed, it would have come out in a much better environment. But maybe it would have been better. It feels like Rocksteady was in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And that kind of sucks for them. Right? It sucks that in this case, like with something like Starfield, I feel like all the bad press is deserved because I don't think that game was all that good. But in this case, it feels like the game's a lot better than the story around it.
Mhm.
But not by much, right? Like, I don't think Suicide Squad deserves all the hate and negative reaction it's getting, but it's also not a super great game.
Mhm.
It's like, it doesn't deserve to be labeled as like this anchor, right? This financial anchor around WB. But it also wasn't. It's not going to be anybody's game of the year. Yeah, it's a sucky situation. It certainly sucks for Rocksteady,
Mhm.
that they put all this time into a game that like is so poorly received.
Yeah.
It really makes me wonder what they're going to do next. Are they going to go back to single player, or are they going to try to make another type of multiplayer?
I'm looking at the wind gust map right now. Or the wind map.
And
God.
yeah, AC Ray says King Shark jumps. He's not reliant on tech, which that's true.
Okay.
But yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway.
Suicide Squad does not look good. Yes, on PC, blah blah blah.
Suicide
blah.
Squad, not Power World. It's not doing Power World numbers.
It's not doing Power World numbers. That's for damn sure. And let's see what else I got. Oh hey, here's one that you may care about. I care about. You may not. Your mileage may vary. I don't know if you knew this, but Paradox, one of my favorite companies, that they can do wrong, but they rarely do, especially when they come to like large form strategic, grand strategy games. And one of the things I like about grand strategy games is it is a different genre entirely from Sims games, but there are some elements of grand strategy games that are very similar to what make sim games very good.
Okay.
Paradox has been working on a Sims 4, I don't say clone, but competitor called Life by You. It was supposed to come out on March 1st or March 3rd or something like that. It is now delayed. They announced this week that it is delayed until June. And their reasoning behind it, if I can pull up my notes, so they released that information in a blog post. They explained that it was, quote, rooted in our commitment to creating a fun game with an enjoyable player experience right from the start of our early access. We're just as excited as the rest of the community for the game's release. As such, we want to ensure that it's smooth and fun for you, as smooth and fun for you as possible, and lays a strong foundation for building out Life by You during early access. So, in other words, we need more time.
Yeah.
So they have said that you should not expect out of the box early access for it to be fully finished. Even in June, they don't expect it to be fully finished. It is going to be very much an early access game at that point.
Okay. That's fair.
But they also had said in the same blog post that they want to improve on the Life by You's character art. Quote, it hasn't reached the quality bar that we've set for ourselves quite yet. They like where it's heading. They like the improvements that they've made on it up into this point, but they're still working on making it just that little bit more good.
That feels like something you want to get right before it goes into early access, because you want people to play your early access game. And if the art isn't finished, or if the art is kind of in progress.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got a fairly tall fairly tall demand to compete with something that, it's a little old in the tooth. And they've treated their fan base a little bit poorly, a bit like ATMs. But at the same time, they've had decades and decades to get all of the feel and the look and the sound exactly right. And they're trying to appeal to those players to drag them over from Sims 4, which some of them are not very happy with, over to this whole different game. So they want it to feel enough like Sims 4 so that they don't look at it and go, yeah, it looks like crap. It needs to have that right mix of feeling familiar yet better.
What's also interesting watching this video, all of the, like when you click on a character and choose your interactions, it has that same Sims style rectangle with the circular edges around it.
Mhm. Yeah, they very much want this to feel familiar, but it's Sims 4 but better, and they need
Yeah.
it to be, because once they can do that, then once they get everybody over, then they can start making quality of life changes that can push that boundary of feeling familiar, because you're not going to bring nobody who's ever played a sim before into this game. They are actively going after a very finite a number of people in the gaming world that play Sims games. They're it's a very lucrative but comparatively small
Jesus, how
market.
many creators are there?
So yeah, it was supposed to be in September, then it became not in September, then it became in March. Now it's gone to June. But they have to get this right. Because because you're dealing with a very I don't say small market, but a discrete market. It's not going to make somebody drop Call of Duty to play this game.
No, but Sims by itself is huge.
Sims by itself is a
that's
huge
not-
game, and the people
that's
that
a
play
lot.
it spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a perfect example of a cash cow that doesn't have to be live service, but it is a cash motherfucking cow. They just release pack after pack after pack, and all those people, even the Sims 4 players who really don't like Sims 4, are still buying it because there's no other game.
Which is wild that EA hasn't made a Sims 5.
Well, I mean, Sims 4, how long ago? It didn't come out that long ago, and people hate it. And they don't make these games like Call of Duties where they just make a new one. They just keep creating
Sims
more
4
and more
came
and
out-
more and more packs.
When did it come out? Come on, where's that Steam? Give me a date, Steam. Give me a date.
Yeah, look it up. When did Sims 4 come out? It's comparatively hasn't been out that long.
Release date, September 2nd, 2014.
Yeah, but this is Sims. And what released on
10 years.
When was the last time? What was the most recent pack that they released for Sims 4?
Oh, well, that's different.
Exactly. They just keep releasing packs, and it changes the game entirely. So essentially, they don't have to put a new number on it. They just release new packs, and it becomes a new game.
I mean, there's a recent event and announcement that 2 new kits are available now. I don't know what a kit is, but they're releasing content for it.
I think they just released a tarot kit. They released something recently that was
but still, I'm surprised
a pack
for a game that is kind of this under acknowledged money printer. I'm surprised they haven't made Sims 4. That they, over the course of 10 years, they haven't invested that
Sims
money.
5?
Yeah, Sims 5.
They don't need to. They don't.
I guess. Yeah, if you're looking hey, we could invest all this money, but we already get enough. Why bother?
Right. And we're already reinventing the game every single time that we play it. And if somebody wants to pick up Sims 4 and start playing it, say we've got a whole new player, a new little piece of clay to mold into a Sims player, they have to pick up Sims 4, and they have to pick up $1,000 worth of packs.
Yeah, it looks like in December they just released a pack about renting locations, renting apartments.
Yep. So you pick up Sims 4. You can either make Sims 5 and then everybody buys Sims 5, and then you have to build out all the packs. Or you get a brand new player who wants to dip their toe into playing Sims. They have to buy the first Sims, and then they have to buy something like $1,600 worth of packs to get
No,
to where they are at.
they don't have to buy The Sims. It went free to play.
Oh, it did? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's
Oh,
on
it's just the
Steam.
packs.
Play The Sims 4, free to play.
Yeah.
Except there's
It's real.
$150 worth of packs you can download.
Right. Exactly. And I think that they dropped the price because it
And that's
used to
on
be that it was
sale.
like $1,000 to get all the packs. But I mean, I even though I love Sims games, I walked away from it because I just saw that being, well, first off, I didn't like Sims 4. And number 2 is I just saw that being um abusive
Mm,
of the community. And they've absolutely abused the community. And they can, because there's nothing else out there. But
yeah.
here's Paradox. Paradox, not EA, but Paradox, who is known for not only really, 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 really supporting their games for a very long time, but for listening to the player base and being involved and giving them what they want and coming out with new and interesting ways to play the same old game, and then but not doing it in a way that makes you feel that they're doing it in a way that makes you love them more, not hate them. They are the antithesis of EA. And
I'm
here they are coming with a sim. And it's like, if they get this right, this is going to print money for them, and it's going to destroy the Sims.
It'll be really interesting too, because Paradox makes really like mechanically dense games,
Mhm.
right? They're very dense with the number of things you can do, but
Which is what
Sims
Sims players kind of want.
but Sims is also kind of casual in the way that it introduces you to its depth of mechanics. It's a much The Sims is not Crusader Kings.
No,
And so it's interesting to
but
see the
it could
people that
be.
make the
That's the
Crusader
thing.
Kings
It could
try to
be.
make Sims.
Well, Crusader Kings is an incredibly dense and difficult game to start out with as well. But I mean, it takes a lot just to even get to start. But if you
Yeah.
actually have this game starting out where you slowly work their way in, and you can just stay at any level of like, oh, I can absolutely play it and enjoy it, or I could go deep. I
For-
could go Crusader Kings deep, and the Sims community fucking will do that.
I'm sure they would love
Hardcore
that.
Sims players will do that.
I'm just curious if Paradox can make a game with that kind of on-ramp and tutorial, because
think
it
they can.
seems like they don't really care about educating their players. They're like, you'll figure it out.
Oh
We
no,
know
Anno,
you'll figure it
Anno,
out.
all the Anno games, those are all
Oh,
like real. Anno's not that. Is that Paradox? No, that's not Paradox. That's
is that Paradox?
I want to say it is. What am I thinking of? It's not Anno, because Anno is
No, isn't Anno Ubisoft?
Ubisoft. Anno is Ubisoft. What's one of the other games that they make that I really, 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 really like, and I can't think of it.
I know they did Stellaris.
Stellaris is a terrible example, because that's one that
City Skyline.
City Skyline. Perfect example. City Skyline. You walk into that, you absolutely have a very, very short on-ramp onto learning how to play it. But the deeper you go, the more detailed that you can get, into a point of where it's unbelievably crunchy. And on top of that, cities and all of their games, they are very pro-modder. They want people to add mods. They want like Crusader Kings. They have like Game of Thrones mods where it's essentially an entirely different game, but sort of the same. And they want that to happen. They like that to happen. You can have actually packs that change all of their gear, change what they wear, increase the amount of differentiation within races that are more accurate to those areas. That's the kind of support that they have for their mod community. And then adding on the idea of Sims, that just becomes a whole nother level that a lot of these people that are modders within the Sims community could go over and truly be embraced in a very big way by the Paradox community, by the Paradox developer within the Paradox community. Just if they get this right, they can kill the Sims the way that they killed SimCity.
Oh yeah, there hasn't. SimCity did kind of flounder and die.
And I remember it was this show, and I believe it was AC Wraith that told me that the SimCity game that you want is City Skyline. That was the first time I ever heard of City Skyline.
And wasn't the last SimCity game like kind of poorly received?
Yeah. Paradox knows how to do this. Paradox not only knows how to
EA
do
specifically.
To EA very specifically for sim games. They absolutely know how to do it. Yeah, it was you. You were the one that's like, oh, the City Skyline. Okay. And I played it that night. It was like, oh wow. This is exactly what I wanted. And it's more than what SimCity was. It's way more than what SimCity was. And over the years, it just got even more. Like when did they release Cities Skyline release date? 2015. They released that in 2015. They only released City Skyline.
That's right. There was a sequel. They put out a sequel recently.
Yeah. Only just last year.
But I also heard that it was poorly received.
Well, yeah, but so was it. I mean, no, it's not that it's poorly received. It's clunky, and everybody knows it's clunky. The thing is, they know it's Paradox. It's clunky. Yeah. So was City Skyline when it came out in 2015. And then look what it got into. They support their games. They start with something that's a little, it's not quite there, and then just go. The thing is, with this Sims, that's why they're adding extra time, because they don't want it to have that kind of like, they want it to be a little more fleshed out than what they did for City Skyline 2. Also, City Skyline 2, I think they only had like 60 people working on it. They have very small teams.
That's nuts.
Very small teams. They are a very, very lean company. They have small teams that really know what they're doing, and they do it right. And then they have no problem releasing something that's not quite fully fleshed, something a little more early accessy in the traditional sense of early access, rather than the early access that we expect now for it to be perfect. And they get it. They just keep working at it till they get it right. And it may take them 2 or 3 years to get it exactly where it wants to be, and then start building out, and then start putting out packs. And remember, they also have a mod community that starts to add stuff immediately. Immediately they start to add stuff to that game. So it's they've got like 30 or 40 people working on the game, and then they have thousands of developers who are also working on the game, like modders that are also working on the game. So yeah, this could be huge for them if they get this right. If they get this right, it's going to be a monster for them. It's going to be probably right up there with City Skyline, if not bigger, because there was a solid community for SimCity, but not like
not the level of the Sims.
Not the level of Sims, not rabid like the Sims. This could be the like, if they nail this, it is gravy town for Paradox. I just hope that the Sims doesn't take over everything else that they do. That would be sad. So anyway, so yeah, that's happening. What's your next item?
Let's see.
I haven't seen many big gusts, but I do see it's a sustained wind at this point, but I haven't seen any big gusting. I haven't heard howling in a little bit.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a really good sign. I can handle 20 mile an hour. I could see everything just kind of like just pushing one direction, just hanging out there, but not like the whipping, screaming from the windows like I've heard. So I think most of it's past. Okay, moving right along.
Did we mention that Pokemon was leaving Twitch like a week ago?
I did not know that.
Okay. She had announced that she's leaving Twitch. That doesn't necessarily mean that she'll never stream on there again, but that it's no longer going to be her main place of work.
Where's she going?
Everywhere else. She has like a TikTok, an Instagram. She's recently streamed on YouTube. Literally everywhere else. And since this announced, I guess she was on a podcast, her podcast series called Don't Tell Anyone, where she kind of went into why. And it's kind of a damning look at Twitch from the streamer side.
Mm-hmm.
She said basically that Twitch has regressed a lot since during the pandemic. This is a quote from her. During the pandemic, there were so many people watching, streaming, and caring about games. There were so many more girls. There was such diversity in the demographic, and I felt so much more seen and heard. And she's leaving because Twitch has regressed a lot due to the rise of so much manosphere red pill bullshit. I feel like this stuff has flourished within the male-dominated live streaming sphere. And that specifically Twitch's response to a lot of that stuff has been messy. Where is it? She said, I personally am done with Twitch's messy behavior in the sense that I'm not done with Twitch, but I'm done with being emotionally invested in the changes that this company is doing. So yeah, she cited their Twitch's like sexual content rule and then like immediate retraction of that rule as an example of a company that constantly makes a rule then backtracks, then makes a rule then backtracks, and that has just been really frustrating to work with, coupled with all the red pill shit. And it's like, it's not worth it to kind of be front and center of that, which does not paint a very good picture of Twitch. Like, we knew before that they're not profitable. They laid off a bunch of people. But even now, like her kind of analysis of the ecosystem is one that suggests there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, Twitch has got problems. And it's more than just their own internal stuff of the way that they treat streamers. Even their biggest streamers.
It's like she said, it's the streaming ecosystem and who's streaming and the audience. It's Twitch getting caught up in the kind of right-wing red pill men's rights social media that's taken over Twitter. That took over Twitter with Elon Musk, that took over so much social media.
Twitch has always been a bro crowd anyway. I mean, from the earliest days, they were before they were even owned by Amazon, they were bros. When you encountered the Twitch employees at any con like PAX, for example, you would see Twitch guys over there. They were really kind of dicks. They were just bros. And they weren't really about gaming. They were about, they almost had a disdain for gamers. They were just about, they thought of themselves as tech bros, not gaming bros. And that kind of mindset really never left them. And they never kind of gave up that juvenile, like frat boy mentality. And now it's coming back to bite them. That, they're really not all that shit. They
Yeah.
really
Well,
aren't.
I think it goes to what the CEO was saying when he talked about their numbers, that why he laid people off, that Twitch was always staffed for where they expect to be in 3 years, but the company's not growing. That's why they laid people off, so that the employees better fit where they are now. But like, that's the issue with Twitch, is it's not growing.
Yeah.
The audience isn't expanding. It's just kind of stagnant.
Because the audience isn't respected. The content providers are not respected. The audience is not respected because Twitch has never had a culture of respect. They have had a culture of I don't know. How to describe it? What's the word I want? They have a culture of taking advantage of people. Always have. In that way that tech guys were like, they have a culture of man, I'm having a hard time with words right now. They have a culture of entitlement.
Okay.
They've always had a culture of entitlement that comes from that kind of patriarchal, male dominated. I'm the cool guy. You're just you are lucky to be in my atmosphere. You are lucky to be in my presence. You are lucky that we let you on Twitch because we're Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, Acer says, I really go on Twitch outside of this show and Critical Role.
Yeah, I don't really watch Twitch anymore. And mostly because when I go, here's the thing. When I go to the front page of Twitch, now I've been on Twitch for how long? They have how much information on me? They know exactly who I am. Every single time I go to the front page of Twitch, you know what it is? It is some freaking hot tub stream. Now they're kind of not hot tubs, but it was always hot tub stream or some Dota or some kind of esports thing. I've never watched a single minute of esports on Twitch, and yet they keep pumping that out to me because they don't care about me.
So that, I think, leads to one of their biggest issues, their priority about live streaming. And I know that we had read this before, that like Twitch, it has such a focus on live streaming, but that's an issue because that means creators have to keep pumping out stuff. But what I've encountered is
There's nothing wrong with that.
no, but what I've
But
encountered is that
they have the algorithm to know what kind of live streams I like. But the
well,
thing
yeah,
is that they only
but
look
they're
at what
not.
everybody likes.
No,
Amazon even knows that
no, but
I
the issue
don't
is
like
that
all books. I like
whatever you
my
like
books.
is not streaming. The issue is that whatever you like, it probably doesn't have a live stream up at that exact moment that you're there. So it's not going to be promoted.
Somebody does,
No,
but it's a
maybe
creator.
not.
Oh,
Maybe not.
it knows I like Crusader Kings. It never feeds me Crusader Kings. There are always people playing Crusader Kings. Always people. They might have 5 people watching, but I'll tell you, if it was pumped out to me on the front page, I might go to that. But you know what I absolutely will never go to is a League of Legends esports with people screaming at the top of their lungs. Even if 25,000 people are watching at that moment, I will never go to that. All it does is make me go, I want to be off that front page instantly, as soon as humanly possible.
What I found really frustrating is that there's like a couple streamers I've mentioned before about streamers be doing Baldur's Gate. I want to watch their stream.
Yes,
you know
why
what?
is that not on the front fucking page?
No, the issue I've encountered is that I want to watch their stream. They streamed that back when Baldur's Gate came out, and like one of the streamers streamed it for like a month. And so like their stream is broken up into 16 parts that are 8 hours each. And I'm slowly watching that as I watch through the game. But like I had mentioned before, Luality is doing like a 1 HP honor mode run. She did that, then she went stream other stuff. She streamed Power World. She streams other things. I want to go watch that Baldur's Gate stream. I can't find it. If I enter into the search bar, Baldur's Gate 1 HP with the streamer's name, it doesn't come up. I have to go to their page, click on past broadcasts, and scroll back until I find that stream, because Twitch doesn't care about your archived videos. And that makes it really hard to get into it, because I want to watch those older streams. I want to watch what this streamer did a week ago, not what they're doing right now.
Right.
But Twitch isn't interested in surfacing that information,
They
and
don't,
makes it
because they don't
legitimately
respect their
difficult,
audience.
and
They-
makes it legitimately difficult for me to get that information.
Right. You know why? Because what they want you to watch, they want you to watch Fortnite.
Mm-hmm. The issue
They want
is
you to
that
watch whatever the hell this is.
the Naraka Blade Point that looks
Okay.
like.
They want you to watch Hearthstone. I have
Hearthstone.
lived Suicide Squad. I have literally. Oh, hey, The Sims.
Yeah, Sims.
All right. I've literally most of the stuff, League of Legends. None of this stuff. Suicide Squad. Angry Joe Show. Overwatch. I've never watched a single dingle stream anywhere of any of these games. But they keep insisting that live channels, we think you'll like. Overwatch? Really, guys? You think I'd like that? No. Suicide Squad? What in tarnation makes you think I would want Suicide Squad? They don't care. It's like they don't. They know that there's an algorithm. They know what I've watched. They know how to make a search bar, but they have a broken algorithm. They do not care about. They want to feed you what they think you should watch. It's not live channels we think you'll like. It's live channels we think we'd like you to watch.
Yeah, well,
which is a very different thing, and that's what's
discoverability.
breaking it. That's what's breaking this whole thing. It doesn't respect the content creators, because it creates no opportunity for anybody to actually get discovered on Twitch, unless somebody who has an active base goes and raids your stream.
Or what you need to do is you need to stream 8 hours a day, every day,
8
so
hours a
that
day.
you are always promoted.
Every day.
Because that's the only way Twitch works. Like, you have to. That's why sleep streams were a meta thing for a while there. Their emphasis on live video is the anchor around them. If they can like pivot to kind of a more video on demand service, so just a video platform, then they could do well. But they're so focused on live streaming.
Categories we think you'll like: Just Chatting, Pal World, maybe League of Legends, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, Valorant. No. None of those. Why? You have this information on me. You know what I like.
Also, you know what?
Don't. You should.
You know what? That right there is indicative of Twitch's problems. Look at that. But not for the reason you're saying. Categories we think you'll like. Those are all specific video games.
Right.
But a lot of a streamer's attractiveness, a lot of the reason you watch a streamer is for them, for their personality.
Right.
I'm not going to go watch a Power World stream,
right,
but I'll watch a streamer I like play Power World.
Right.
And so that's an issue, is how do you advertise the streamer and not the game? But Twitch, it can only advertise the game. It can't go, oh, we've seen that you watch these strategy streamers, or you've watched streamers that with an emphasis on jokes or something like that. So we'll give you more comedic streamers. Like, they need to find a way to filter by streamer attitude.
Here's a perfect example. On my front page, Pump to Me. Rage first playthrough raging. Boobs hanging out with the tags boogers, energy, loud. Absolutely nothing there appeals to me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. But like if you were into that,
Right.
but like how would Twitch know? I want to watch a streamer that yells a lot. How does Twitch know to advertise that to me?
Because
But they don't.
they do. That's the thing, is that they should.
They should, but they don't.
Every other anything has an algorithm that keeps track of what you watch and how long you watch it for. YouTube does it. Amazon does it. Netflix does it. They all do it except Twitch. Twitch fails at being the internet. The whole internet does it except for Twitch, because it is that mentality of I'm going to tell you what I want you to watch. It's almost so old school advertising. It's embarrassing. It's Mad Men advertising. I'm going to tell you what you're going to buy.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you what you need for yourself to make yourself okay.
Yeah.
Just all bad.
So yeah.
So yeah, and I can
That's us
absolutely see
complaining
why
about Twitch.
Pokimane would walk away from that, because if it's horrible for her of all people on her end, and it's worse for us on our end, why would anybody be here? And I say this
Yeah.
as I am on Twitch. Sorry guys, I'm sure you're just going to shut me down
Well,
tomorrow.
it's like YouTube is a video
But the thing is, they wouldn't
platform.
care. They don't even know. They don't even know it exists. Why? Because we don't have enough people watching. And we
Like-
never will, because I would have to, like you said, stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months before they would even register that I'm here.
Yeah. And like Bitters Plus has it. Like YouTube does that, but in reverse. Like YouTube has all the features that Twitch has,
Mhm.
but with also better VOD discovery.
Yeah. God. Google News. Fuck. Never look at a single fucking Dear Abby column in your Google News. Holy shit. And for God's sake, never, ever, unless you hate that, if you really hate somebody, here's how to fuck up their life. 1, go on Google and search instant pot recipes. And number 2, go into their news cycle and then have it look up Dear Abby and read 2 Dear Abby columns in their news. You will never be able to get that shit out of there.
But wait, you should be able to click on something and say less like this or don't recommend this to me.
Oh yeah, you'd think. I've been clicking on Dear Abby's and advice columns that show up in my newsfeed for 3 years.
Really? I found that always works for me if I'm like, oh, this person, I don't
For
want to listen to them.
everything
Block 'em.
except that. Finally, about 6 months ago, I stopped getting them. And then
It
a
started
couple of
up
weeks
again.
ago, they started up again. Like, are you really sure you don't want to read an advice column? No. So finally, it's like, okay. All right.
You're just like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna start reading Dear Abby.
Last chance. I'm going to recommend to you dearabby.com. Clearly, you just need to go there. It's all the ones that are in the newspapers. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, finally, I get to say, block everything from this site. I never
Okay.
want to see this site there. Oh, holy crap. Another thing, never look up anything from the Hindustan Times. Never click on an article from the Hindustan Times. Holy shit, you will get nothing but news from India. Like, that I don't even have anything like provincial news from India, where I don't understand what the article is about. That's the latest one, is I'm getting Indian news of like Indian elections and
Well,
what's going on in the neighborhoods. And I'm like,
at least you've gone past Dear Abby.
every once in a while, something, I just have to think, what happened in my algorithm made you think that? It's almost like it's, if I could take, Google a little more like Twitch and Twitch a little more like Google, we might have one really good service. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, moving right along.
We can move on to another big story that we'll probably talk a lot about. Xbox quarterly revenue. They released
Oh.
that, and it surged 49%. Xbox is doing fantastic, except that most of that jump comes from Activision. This is the first quarter with the Activision with them getting all credit for all of the Activision.
God, that must be such a kick in the balls to all those 1,900 people who lost their jobs.
So, okay, Stephen Totillo, who he did Kotaku, he was at Bloomberg a bunch.
Very, very good at what he does.
He has a new newsletter out called GameFile. I subscribed to it, and he had a whole in-depth deep dive about this specifically, about digging into their earnings and like trying to separate how is Xbox doing apart from Activision. And what he found is that if you're able to subtract like all the Activision credit, Xbox is like up 4%, which is not a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's devastatingly small for a publicly traded company.
I wanna read this part from his email because I think it's really, really good. He said there are hints in Microsoft's latest financial numbers about what might have motivated the cuts, which heavily targeted Activision Blizzard. The company said its overall gaming revenues was $7.1 billion for the quarter, and Xbox content services were up 61%, with 55% coming from Activision acquisition. That's big growth with Activision Blizzard factored in, but much smaller if you take them out. A Microsoft gaming division that grows in the mid-single digits without Activision Blizzard would make it one of the slower growing parts of the company. By contrast, Microsoft's intelligent cloud business has a revenue increase of 22% last quarter.
Wow,
Office
really?
commercial products revenue was up 15%, and Windows and LinkedIn revenue were up 9%. Something Phil Spencer told me.
LinkedIn
LinkedIn revenue.
Really?
Something Phil Spencer told me, i.e. Stephen Totillo,
Mhm.
in 2022 has been echoing in my mind lately. Members of his gaming team relied on him to ensure that business is being operated in a way that the company continues to support, he told me. One way to read that, it matters little how well Microsoft is doing overall. The gaming team needs to do well, and I assume by extension might feel pressure when other divisions outperform it. Overall, Microsoft made $21.6 billion in income for the final 3 months of 2023. It's not hurting and clearly made enough to keep paying everyone who was laid off. But if its gaming division has to justify itself on its own, and if growth upon growth upon growth is the thing that matters for better or worse, there are hints there for why, even after buying a highly profitable gaming giant, Microsoft execs decided to swing the axe and lay all these people off. That basically, without Activision, Xbox is not growing. Like that may be one of the motivational reasons. Like we saw Xbox, Phil Spencer was out there throwing himself a big pity party, right? When they were trying to acquire Activision, going, oh, look at how Xbox is doing. We're doing so poorly. We don't have any market share. If we do this, we'll still be in second place compared to like Tencent or whatever. Like, oh, we're so bad. We need to buy it to justify ourselves.
Mhm.
Like maybe he was being more truthful than
He wasn't lying. He wasn't
maybe
lying.
maybe he wasn't lying. But he wasn't lying only in the sense that year-over-year growth is what Microsoft is looking for.
That's what all of them are looking for.
And if
They all want 20% growth every year.
And if Xbox can't do that, then
He'll lose his job.
maybe that's an existential threat to Xbox as a brand, to a
Possibly.
thing. Maybe Microsoft would just flat out say, look, Xbox isn't growing 20% year over year. We're out of gaming. Like if that is how cutthroat
if that's true,
seems, yeah, like
if that's true,
That makes it
They
seem like
have fucked
Xbox.
themselves.
That makes it seem like Xbox's existence within Microsoft is like they have a guillotine over their head at all times.
And if that is the case, then the Activision acquisition was the worst possible thing that he could have done. Because how are you going to make 20% more next year when the way that you propped up your numbers was buying Activision? How can you possibly hit the number next year? You increased it 50% this year. If you'd increased it 20% over 2 years, you'd only have to increase by 40% over 2 years, actually slightly more than that. Now you have to increase by 70% over 2 years. He can't possibly hit that number next year.
See,
He's
it's fine.
screwed.
It's
He has
fine.
kicked that can way. It's kicking a can down the road, but like not just kicking it, like field goaling it down the road.
That's a world record field goal.
World record, just booting it across a
No.
continent.
It's
You
fine.
can't possibly
It's fine.
catch up.
Next year, they're just going to buy Ubisoft.
Eventually, they are going to run out of companies. Eventually, it's just going to be Microsoft trying to buy Sony, and that's not going to work. Yeah, no, he's if that is true, he has just painted himself and Xbox into a corner
Yeah,
that they
like
can never recover from.
like reading that and that specifically, like you can look at those numbers, go, oh, Xbox is doing well. But when you take what he said in the past and kind of look at Xbox's numbers on its own, and then look at the layoffs and look at how well Xbox is doing in relation to everything else at Microsoft, like I said, it paints kind of a existential crisis for Xbox. Like they exist within a larger business that
Yeah.
doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
You get the sense with Sony that PlayStation exists within a larger business that like cares about PlayStation, that cares about the brand. And
Well, they seem that
propping it up.
when it comes with Sony, yeah, is a big parent company, but they seem like their divisions are kind of less a part of Sony big picture. Like they're not, the company is not made up of its parts individually. Like Sony Pictures it's really its own, very much its own thing. And it's not competing. Sony Pictures is not competing against Sony Gaming.
Yes, you don't get the sense
against
that these
Sony Electronics.
Yeah, these sub business, Sony Pictures is not competing with Sony Music, which is not competing with PlayStation. They're not like, oh, it
They're
looks
all
like
their own individual discrete stuff, and they're being looked at on their own merits. Whereas it sounds like from Stephen Totillo's explanation is that all the divisions within Microsoft are competing against each other.
Yeah, it's not just that Xbox did well or not. Hey,
Right.
hey, stop
It's a hell of a lot easier for LinkedIn to increase by 19%. LinkedIn does not make a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot harder for something as big as Xbox to increase by 19%.
Yeah, if growth is the one metric, then
And
it's like
all a
it doesn't matter
based on the other what everybody else is doing.
Then it doesn't matter how successful Microsoft is. They have to grow by a specific percent, but someone smaller than them kind of has an advantage in that regard.
Exactly. I only have to make $100,000 more this year to increase by 20%, whereas Xbox has to make $1 billion more to increase by 20%. That's just it's all comparative, and that is such a bad way to run a business. To run as diverse a company as Microsoft.
Yes.
You cannot ask. And maybe it's because Microsoft is all tech and Sony is essentially media and also
they really kind of
manufacturing. They're way more diverse, and that you can't expect manufacturing to be making the same margins than movies. They just run on a different margin scale.
Jupiter, you're making it look like there's an earthquake. He's scratching the laptop. He's scratching himself against it.
Yeah, please don't do that. So, yeah, I think that if that is the case, then Xbox is fucked. Not only fucked this year, fucked next year.
Yeah, like it calls into question their long-term health as a company.
It calls into question the health of Microsoft as a
Well,
company.
Microsoft is doing fine. They're a $1 trillion company now.
Microsoft is doing fine. They're a $1 trillion company now. In the same way that Xbox is doing fine, they increased their income by 49%. For now, yeah, they're doing fine, but they're running themselves towards a cliff. They're not being run as a sustainable corporation.
Yeah.
Sony's sustainable. They ask them to do as well as they can do in their respective markets. Microsoft, they're not. That bodes very poorly for the company
Oh
itself.
my God. Jesus. He's behind the laptop now.
Just
Remember when
kick
I
him off. He's a cat.
No, but he's cute because
He's get rid of it.
he found that the laptop is the back of the laptop is outputting hot air, so now he's just chilling back there.
All right, just chill. As long as you chill. Everybody has to have some borders that they need to cross. Everybody has to have like some limits. Even your cat.
Look up.
Even the world's cutest cat.
Uh-huh.
All right, so
Okay. Do you have other stories? I have a couple like smaller ones.
Let's see. I do have one sort of small one, but sort of big one. Nick and I and Chaos had a big conversation the other day.
Yeah, I saw you put this in there, and I'm very curious about where this went.
Yeah. So, there was a story that came out. It kind of hit, and it struck me as kind of weird, in that there was a story that came out in this Japanese news source called what was it originally called? Pan Daily, that said that Hasbro and Tencent were in initial talks for Tencent to purchase the IP of D&D from Hasbro. The reason being was that Larian wanted to purchase the IP, and the price that Wizards of the Coast came back with, or Hasbro came back was too high. So Larian went to its.
Was it that Larian wanted it, or was it that Tencent wanted to buy it and talk to Larian as a go-between?
No, it was the other way. It was that Larian originally, fat on Baldur's Gate money, either approached Hasbro or Hasbro approached them and said, hey, what would you be willing to sell Dungeons and Dragons IP for? And that Hasbro came back with a price that was way too much. But then Larian turned to its majority stockholder, Tencent, and said, hey, would you be interested in buying the D&D IP? Because we gotta, we're kind of in talks with Hasbro, and it's too rich for our blood, but maybe you could buy it. And that was the story, is that there were initial discussions between Tencent and Hasbro for Tencent purchasing the D&D IP as a whole, because then they never have to worry about licensing fees and blah, blah, blah. And one thing that we do know about Tencent is that they really love to buy stuff so that they can license it out. They're all about that.
Eat that cable.
Stop it. And then Pan Daily cited another source from some other, I forget what it was called, some other source that said that that's where they got their story from. So then I went to that story, and that story referred to another source. And then I went to that source, and of course it's all in Chinese, so it had to have it translated. But essentially, when you translate all of them, they're all the exact same word for word article. And that struck me as a bit strange. And Nick and I had this conversation. Nick and Chris, Nick and Andrew and I, Chaos and I, all had this conversation about like, would this be, could this be? I mean, I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about this. And we were not the only ones. There were a number of different creators, especially on YouTube, who took to YouTube were being like, okay, well, this may very well be happening. This could be a kind of a big thing. And kind of like analyzing it, how maybe it does make sense that, that it gets Hasbro out of having to deal with these, whiny players, but it could still have D&D Beyond and still just get people to sign up, and they would still have, like this software that they really, 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 really want to work. Well, turns out that after being approached, a statement to VGC, Wizards of the Coast has said that they, quote, we regularly talk to Tencent and enjoy multiple partnerships with them across our IPs. Quote, we don't make a habit of commenting on internet rumors, but to be clear, we are not looking to sell D&D IP. Now, here's my take on what they said, reading between the lines. They didn't say, we're not going to sell D&D IP. They didn't say, we don't want to sell D&D IP. They said, we're not looking to sell D&D IP.
Okay.
That means they're not actively going out and talking to people and saying, hey, would you like to buy D&D IP? But it doesn't mean that people aren't calling them saying, hey, would you like to sell
True.
D&D IP?
Yeah, we're not
How
looking.
much can we give you to sell IP? I'm not looking to sell my Tesla. Not looking at all. But if somebody came up and said, hey, would you give me would you sell me your Tesla for $100,000? I'd be like, yes, I would. I would be making money on that car. If I'm not looking to sell Kevin's truck, I don't want to sell Kevin's truck. There's a difference. I love the Tesla. Don't get me wrong. But if somebody offered me $100,000 for that Tesla, I would absolutely sell it to them. If somebody came up to me to buy Kevin's pickup truck, his baby, and said, I'll give you $100,000 for that pickup truck, I would say, no, I will not sell that truck ever.
That's
the difference between I won't sell, I'm not going to sell, and I'm not looking to sell.
There's a tweet from Larian's boss, Swin Vinnick, the guy that dresses up in the chainmail.
Yeah.
I know that Larian was like not going to buy it, but he tweeted, "It's silly that I should do a tweet about not buying something that is not for sale, so I won't. But in case you're wondering, we're not. Hope that clears it up." It's like, what? No, it doesn't. I'm not even knowing the full story. It's hard to follow along with that.
But it's strange to me why what would be the purpose of posting those articles? Because obviously it was the same company just repeating the same article in 3 different places. But why? Why would they do that?
I mean,
nobody does anything nobody does something for no reason.
No, that's not true at all. In fact, I think one of the most misleading things is to assume there's a logical reason behind everything, when that is so not true. This could absolutely be a case of just like someone heard something and they wrote a story about it, and someone else picked it up, and someone else picked it up, and someone else picked it up.
It's not they picked it up. Nobody else picked it up. It's the exact identical story. And that leads me to believe it's the same people or entity, or somebody's just copy pasting onto 3 different sites.
Yeah, maybe it's just like some schlub in Japan is like,
trolling.
working 3 jobs and is like, "Oh, I heard this rumor. I'm going to write about it in all 3 of the places I work for."
Possibly, or yeah.
Or maybe there is some truth to it, but the talks fell through, and so Hasbro's like, "No,
No, we're not
we
looking to
never
sell.
talked about
Right,
this.
we
Not
didn't.
looking to
They
sell."
didn't say we never talked about it. They said
See?
we're not looking to sell.
The 10 cents number was too low, and so Hasbro's like, "Nah. Nah, bro."
I don't know. It was just a weird, crazy ass thing that happened in the D&D world that
Yeah.
essentially kicked the bee's nest and had everybody asking questions like, "What the fuck?" And then it was a no, but a no in such a way from 2 different sources that the end it wasn't a definitive no. It was a no-ish.
Okay, well, we can segue of who would you rather buy D&D? Tencent or Embracer?
Ugh. Well, Bracer can't buy
Because
it.
Embracer's in the news again for canceling a new Deus Ex game.
Yeah.
This comes after Square Enix sold Eidos Montreal to Embracer, and Embracer pretty quickly came out and said, "Hey, guess what? We're working on a new version of all these games you like." And now the
Tomb Raider and everything else.
Tomb Raider
And Deus
Legacy
Ex was one of them they
Deus Ex.
specifically said that they were
Uh-huh.
working on.
And now that's canceled after layoffs, after Embracer continues to like wake up each morning with a knife in its hand and go, "Okay, who can we cut today?"
Well, it's I do not look. Microsoft, fuck yeah, I blame them for that. Most of these layoffs, fuck yeah, I blame them for that. Embracer, I do not. Embracer got fucked over, and they are
I mean,
still
yeah,
trying to recover in such a way that they don't go bankrupt.
like yes, they did get fucked over, but also they clearly did business with money they didn't have, assuming that they would have it in the future. Right?
They clearly
That
right.
was
Well,
not
they
responsible.
probably did a lot of these purchases based on a promise from the Saudi government
They would do it.
that the Saudi government pulled out at the moment they were about to announce the partnership.
But like that's the thing. Maybe don't make deals until the partnership is in place.
Man, it's
Maybe
hard to
don't
know.
make
Hard to know. When you have 2 people, 2 entities that are working together, I mean, they could have been working together, and it seemed like the way that Embracer got kind of broadsided by this, that they'd been working together in good faith for quite some time. And
Yeah.
then at the last minute, at not just the last minute, at the worst possible moment to absolutely rug pull Embracer, that's what happened. And you can't really blame I mean, yeah, sometimes you can blame people for getting involved with a rug pull, but maybe they should have thought a little bit more, but nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects to get rug pulled. And certainly not with a group that they seem to have had a pretty good sense of like this is going to happen. Like all the assurances all the way along. So I really Embracer right now is in a fight for its life. Unlike Microsoft, they're not in a fight for their lives. Ubisoft, they're
Yes.
not in a fight for their lives.
But it's still
Google
it's
and
still like
Twitter
they
and
wouldn't be in this
Facebook,
situation if
they're not in a fight for their
they
lives.
hadn't but they wouldn't be in this situation if they hadn't like managed irresponsibly.
I don't know
with
that they
m-
managed
with
it irresponsibly.
they
They made a
gambled with
mistake.
money they didn't have.
They made a very, very, very bad mistake.
And the mistake
And
was
they
gambling with
knew
$2
that.
billion they didn't have.
Well, when somebody says, "I'll give you $2 billion for it," and it is an understood thing that like it's happening and you're getting assurances like, "Yeah, no problem. We're in it. We're in it. We're in it. We're in it. We're in it." We're not in it.
I mean, you don't know that they were getting
24
assurances.
hours, but less than 24 hours, the night before it gets announced, they pull the rug. I consider Embracer a victim.
And
Good.
they're
Did they
both.
make a
They're
mistake?
both.
Absolutely. Was it a self induced mistake? Absolutely. Did they inflict that mistake on themselves? Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, look, there are plenty of stories about a gambler gambling with money they don't have and then
That's
getting in
not
trouble for
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
And you
That's the
feel
thing is it
sympathy
wasn't
for them.
gambling.
You
It
feel
wasn't
sympathy for them.
gambling. It was not gambling. They believed
was similar.
someone that it's not an unusual thing for two organizations to have an agreement like that on a handshake before, like, and to the point of where they were about to make it public. It was not
Yes.
like
And I get that, but my issue is that clearly,
they trusted
based
too
on how
much.
much cut they've been doing, Embracer's existence seemed to rely on that deal.
Yes.
That's what my issue is.
Yes.
They went all in on
And-
the deal that wasn't completed.
And that's why, that is exactly why I think that this was a plan, a con to get somebody else to buy those. Saudis didn't buy it because they
No.
would have had to pay full bore. They got Embracer to go and buy them so that Embracer went into bankruptcy and they could get it even cheaper.
I mean, we'll have to see because so far
They
Embracer
were the patsy.
so far Embracer hasn't sold any of its acquisitions. It's just shut them down.
Right,
So
right.
if that was the plan, it didn't work out.
They're trying to not become the absolute victim in this. They're trying to do their very best, given the situation, to not die and give the company that rug pulled them exactly what they wanted, which was all of these IPs at a bargain basement price.
We'll see.
Yep. To spend $2 billion that they didn't have, that they thought that they had, was promised to them, and then it didn't get and then now they're going to get everything for less than that $2 billion. I'm really, really, really convinced that that's exactly what the motivation was for
We'll
why
have to
that
see.
rug pull happened.
So far, the
I
Saudi
don't blame
investment fund
Embracer.
hasn't done
Embracer
anything.
very much is in the hot seat and is on the verge of death. So as much as it pains me to see this, I am not putting them in this anywhere in the same categories as Microsoft and anybody else that's doing these cutoffs, these layoffs right now. Nowhere near. This is genuinely a fire sale for them, or at least a fire alarm. Pull everything right now. Anyway, what else you got?
I've got a couple smaller ones.
I got one small.
You know what? In this same vein, Devolver. There have been some layoffs at Devolver, just like there have been at everything. But the CEO of Devolver is stepping down following those layoffs and is being replaced by the co-founder and former CEO. Former CEO. So the new CEO made some bad decisions, resulted in layoffs, and he's now stepping down to be replaced with the old CEO. And that's kind of it, but it's just kind of nice to see the layoffs hit the C-suite area. Like, clearly, if you run a business to the point where you need to lay off 30% of your company, that's not what happened with Devolver. Devolver laid off like 30 people, which is a much smaller percentage of the company. No, actually, never mind. Devolver announced yesterday that 28 people are set to lose their jobs, not 28%.
Yeah.
But like, take Twitch or Microsoft, for example, right? If you run a company such that you got to lay off 30% of your company, you've clearly made some bad decisions. Do you really want that person to continue making business decisions?
Right.
And so it's nice
Devolver,
to see that actually the CEO, the person making those decisions, actually held accountable for them.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at layoffs. In Devolver's world, layoffs are a bad thing. In every other corporate, especially publicly traded company, layoffs are a good thing. That's a cost-cutting measure.
That's true.
That's a good thing. They laid off 1,900 people. They don't have to pay anymore. That is excellent. That's why their stock went up.
That's
when
why
they
you
laid off
that's
people.
why you keep the CEO around because he laid
Because he
off
made
them
right, exactly. He made the right decision. He cut people.
all. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. So, yeah, it's nice to see a company that actually believes that layoffs are a bad thing. And
Yeah.
that something that they need to be held accountable for, not be celebrated for.
Yeah.
All right, my last quick item is if you have ever tried to play Games Pass games, mobile games on your iPhone, you will know that it is not an easy thing to do. You kind of have to go around a bunch of like here and there and here and there to get it. Well, Apple has made a new policy that will make this easier. They've updated their policies for iPhones. So, if you want to play Game Pass games on your iPhone, you have to go through your browser currently. And that's not, as convenient as going through the App Store. And it's not the most intuitive thing in the world to do either. There
Mhm.
is a Games Pass app available on the App Store, but all it does is let you browse what games are available through the service and remote install them to your Xbox or PC. And the
Okay.
reason why that is the case, and it doesn't get mobile games to your phone, is you have to play or is because Apple's policy, previous policy up till now, it didn't allow apps with catalogs of games like Game Pass to play them at all within the app unless the games were available through the App Store individually.
Hmm.
So all the games that are in Game Pass had to be available via the App Store individually to allow Game Pass to be able to give you access to the mobile games in their catalog as a whole.
You know what? That fits with Apple's way of thinking.
Right. So, new update in the policy. Here's a quote from Apple. Today, Apple is introducing new options for how apps globally can deliver in-app purchases to users, including streaming games and mini programs. Developers can now submit a single app with the capability to stream all of the games offered in their catalog. So what that means is things like Game Pass and other cloud streaming services like NVIDIA's GeForce, the GeForce Now, bunch of any of the other ones that actually have games catalogs, where the dedicated apps offer cloud streaming directly within it, those can now be used on the App Store directly.
Hmm.
So it's not going to fix everything. I mean, still streaming Game Pass on your phone's browser, it's not the worst thing in the world, but this
Yeah.
does make it slightly more convenient to stream games on your phone as opposed to having to go through extra steps to do it through a browser. There you go.
That's
Freedom to the
interesting. Yeah.
people.
Well, we'll have to see if Microsoft's whole streaming infrastructure approach plays out.
It's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so either.
Nope.
Anyways,
If I've gone from streaming games wouldn't be bad to fuck that, then yeah, it's not gonna happen. This is me. This is me. I never change my mind. I never backtrack. I never take these backsies. And this one time I'm saying I was wrong. You need to own your games. Even if you digitally download them, you need to own your games.
Mhm. I've got two final pieces of kind of fun news.
Okay.
So we can end on those. The PlayStation Plus games for February have been announced. They are Foam Stars, which is one of Sony's live service game pushes. And it's basically, I think it's Square Enix, their take on Splatoon. I'm actually really curious about it. I'm going to download it and play it because I think it looks like it could be kind of fun. We should play some of it, see if it actually turns out cool. In addition to that, there's Rollerdrome, which is kind of an indie arena shooter game that came out a couple years ago that I think got pretty good reviews.
Mhm.
And then Steel Rising, which is a Souls-like from Spiders, I believe, who was the developer behind Greedfall. And I actually played quite a bit of Steel Rising and like pretty much enjoyed a lot of my time with it. It's not
Steel
a
Rising, the one where you have the hand.
It's the one where you play as like an automaton in Victorian France.
Yeah.
A Souls-like set in Victorian France. It's like not
Okay.
the
Yeah.
it's not the best Souls-like game, but the
Right.
combat was fast and snappy and felt good. And I think it's one of the better indie Souls-like that I played.
Yeah.
So it like has a
I
free
heard it
game.
was good, but not great.
Yeah. Has a free game you get as part of a subscription package. I think it's a great one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, overall I think it's a pretty solid lineup for February.
I love the aesthetic of it anyway. So.
Mhm. And then in addition to that, my last story is that CBF and the animation studio Innersloth have released a teaser image of their Among Us series.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that made me think, they're making an Among Us cartoon?
Yeah, they are.
I did not I don't remember hearing anything about that.
So it was just a still.
Yeah, it's just a still of a there's like a poster. It's like a cafeteria with a banner that says "We're not dead," except there's a blood stain over the "not," so it just says "We're dead."
Let's see. I'm trying to find it. Images.
Yeah. If anything, the animation is done by Titmouse Studios, which is known for Lower Decks at the moment. And I guess the executive producer is the guy who did Infinity Train.
Mm-hmm.
All of those are like really good shows. So I knew nothing about an Among Us cartoon, but after seeing this like random headline and seeing like the people behind it, I'm actually kind of excited for an Among Us cartoon now. Like the pedigree behind it is not bad.
I'm trying to find that particular still.
Just search for like
There we go. I got
Among
it.
Us on
Got it. Got it.
by Inner Sloth Devs.
Copy image.
It's
address.
not that interesting of an image. It's an
No,
empty
but
room.
still, I mean, if we're going to talk about something that's visual, I feel obligation. There it is, right there.
Yeah. And you know what? Like Among Us feels like it's the way a random Among Us game plays out, it does kind of feel like a cartoon.
It's just
So
making me hungry for pizza.
it fits.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I'll watch an episode if it's good. If it's good, great. If it's not good, I'm not going to watch it.
Oh yeah. Of course.
All right. So, more importantly, Baldur's Gate tonight.
I don't know if I could play tonight or tomorrow. Let's see.
All right, everybody watching. You want me to do Power World tonight and then Baldur's Gate tomorrow? I would rather play Baldur's Gate tonight, to be honest, but
I don't know. We'll probably have a late dinner, and then I do have to take care of my cold. They would go to pieces without me.
oh, why don't you stream Lamb tonight and I'll just watch with you.
I guess I could do that.
I could absolutely watch with you.
But then I'd have to start way earlier too.
Why?
Because normally I start playing games after Rachel goes to bed around like 11.
Oh yeah,
10 or 11.
yeah. I gotta be in bed. I gotta stop at 11:30 because I gotta be in bed. 'Cause I have a.
That's when I start.
All right.
Yeah, you can vamp for a second.
All right.
Give me 10 minutes.
10 minutes? You need me to vamp for 10 minutes?
Metaphorical 10 minutes.
Okay, metaphorical is usually say a couple seconds. That's
But
metaphorical.
I guess metaphorical 10 minutes is actually like 2 hours. When someone says,
Yeah.
when like your mechanic says, "Oh, it'll take 10
In
minutes,"
10
they
minutes,
actually
it's
mean
going to
an
be
hour.
2 hours. Right, right,
Okay,
right.
give me a minute.
A minute. Okay, all right. So, yeah, I guess it's up to you. Do you, listening, watching, whatever, right now? Do you want to, us to play or me to play Pal World tonight by myself, or do we want to see if Nick? Or would you rather watch Nick play his game of Cult of the Lamb? I would probably be watching him play, and then we would be together, or I could just take the night off. But tomorrow night, we definitely have to do Baldur's Gate. Definitely. I'm also trying to get. I have one of my coworkers works for the same company, but she's up in the Sacramento office. She is she has so many hours into, Stardew Valley. Holy crap, does she have a lot of hours in Valley, and she is about to, like, completely 100% absolutely everything in it, and I had told her, "You really need to play Baldur's Gate because you could play multiplayer," and so I want to see if I can get, like, a D&D, like, treat it like a D&D game. Once a week, same time, every week, we get together and we play 2 or 3 hours of D&D. It just happens to be called Baldur's Gate, and it happens to be on the console as opposed to actually getting together to play. Um, so I'm trying to get her to finally get Baldur's Gate and to, like, commit to this. But she's about as, misanthropic as I am, which is why I like her so much. Um so we'll see. And if you guys are interested in seeing me and my coworker, 2 chicks playing D&D, we might just do that streaming, and we'll
Are,
make it on a regular thing.
are you trying to spread the Baldur's Gate addiction to other people?
Yes.
You know that it's a terrible disease. Once you get it, there's
I
no cure.
I am doing this because it's really Baldur's Gate is the methadone of the heroin that is for this person, Stardew Valley.
Oh,
She's
okay. Oh, you know what?
fully addicted to that and needs to get off of it now. Like,
One thing that
she's
one
100%ing absolutely everything in Stardew Valley, everything. And
okay.
I was like, I
This
told her about it, she goes, I'm like, I'm 2 hours away of just completing the entire game for the 3rd time. I'm like,
okay. Maybe she should play Cult of the Lamb. Because
no.
playing Cult of the Lamb, I was struck by how similar the loop is to Stardew Valley, except that it doesn't have all of those narrative hooks that Stardew has. Right? Stardew has the story of all of the townspeople.
That's
Right?
exactly what she wants.
Okay, because as I was playing Cult of the Lamb, I was like, I saw the hook, like all that loop, the hooks and everything there. It's just like Stardew Valley. If you hooked on that, you'll like Cult. But I know for a lot of people, one of the big attractors to Stardew is all that story. And that is the one thing Cult does not have.
That's exactly why she likes
Okay.
it.
So then
Exactly why
you
she likes it.
so then we got to give her another heavily story-based game.
Yeah.
Or a game with a lot of heavy story in it.
Baldur's Gate, and I've told her it's like I'm pitching it to her is it's D&D. It's a D&D game. You and I could meet up every week, same time, every week, play 2 hours of this game and treat it like a D&D campaign with a really, really, really good DM.
It's really Stardew is crack. There's no harming that person with another game. You know what?
Yeah.
When you're deep into like the meth addict, taking a bit of marijuana is not going to do anything.
Exactly.
It's fine.
No, I think that's the thing is that I have to be her sponsor. I have to make her come back to a point of where she's hooked on playing with me
Okay,
and
so let's
playing
see
this game together.
she likes the narrative element. How does she feel about emergent stories?
I don't know.
How would she feel about Crusader Kings?
Oh, she didn't.
Okay, that's too much. Too mechanically dense.
As far as I know, I think that might be too mechanically dense.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a bit like me. Like she would be a Dragon Age kind of gal.
Okay. Then yeah, Baldur's Gate's definitely like the drug.
Yeah. I think that and the fact that we could play together. That's a huge thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
then treat it like a D&D campaign as opposed to a video game.
yeah.
So she could still play Stardew Valley or anything else she wants to play, but 2 hours a week, she and I get online, we play Baldur's Gate together.
Yeah. So then that begs the question.
She's single, I'm single, she's got cats, I got dogs.
Match
all
made
she
in
got.
heaven.
Right, exactly. We could both talk about like what's happened in the California legislature and be nerd out because we're both wonks.
Talk about the California legislator, talk about the Baldur's Gate legislator.
Right. Find out,
all into the politics.
who's going to be Nancy Pelosi's a district director, because it's the new old district director she's had for years is now the vice chancellor of the city CCF, no UCSF. It's not the vice chancellor of UCSF. So like, who's she going to replace it with, or who does she have interim, and yeah, all that kind of like behind baseball, that's inside baseball, I should say, inside baseball kind of stuff. Yeah.
So what I was going to ask then, it raised the very important question. Do you know what character you would play?
No.
Do you have an idea of what different type of character you play? Would you
No,
even play
because I played as a ranger, or played as a rogue, right?
Yeah.
And I'm playing as a bard with you.
Would you be a tank? Would you be a sorcerer? Wizard?
I don't know.
Would you be a wizard? That way you don't have to spend time with Gale?
I like Gale. Gale's fun.
Gale's
I don't know
useless.
why you don't like Gale. Gale, there's only 2 characters who will play the game that you want to play in this, and it's Asterion and it's Gale.
The truth is I actually do like Gale. Like in my main game, I fed him a whole bunch of spells. Like he's really good.
Yeah.
I don't generally have him in my party, but when I do, like he carries his weight. He's good. Just that first night we were playing, every time it was Gale's turn, he failed the roll.
It was just wind up and pitch and whiff. Yeah.
And so now
it.
it's just fun to shit on Gale.
And you're in my game. I roll fantastic in my game. Your game, I cannot catch a motherfucking roll at all. I get out all of my bad rolls with you.
We never have inspiration because
I know, because I use them all up. By the way, you know that you can only have a max of 4, so you need to use them on the regular. Okay.
Yeah.
I was saving him. I'm like, why can I never get more than 4? Oh, that's why.
I realize that too.
Yeah. So
but anyways, I will play tonight. I was questioning because Rachel's been like working all weekend because there's like
wibbly wobbly timey wimey
stuff happened. She's been working all weekend, so I want to like set aside some time tonight, like have dinner together and spend some time together. But the disaster is still ongoing. She's still working. So which means I'm free to play video games.
Okay. All right. So what time you're going to start playing Cult of the Lamb? And then what time am I going to join you to watch?
What do you want to watch me play Cult of the Lamb, or do you want to play Baldur's Gate?
I want to play Baldur's Gate.
Well, that was easy.
I mean, is there a question there? No.
Okay.
Then of course I want to play Baldur's Gate, but I know that you kind of want to deal with your cultists. You want to take care of your cultists, so
we can play some Baldur's Gate. Really? I need to get some of the Baldur's Gate addiction out there. That way, I'm not thinking about Baldur's Gate while playing.
Really? What time?
How about
what time? Make it sooner.
Okay, how about 7? I was going to say 7:30, but honestly,
7.
if I say 7, it'll be 7:30.
7.
Right?
7. No, it's not going to be 7:30. It's good. 7. Come on, 7. Come on, for me, birthday present. Oh, you got me one. Fuck.
7:10.
Do you really mean 7:10?
Maybe 7:09.
7:09. You
Yeah.
really mean 7'9"? Is that a hard 7'9", or is that a timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly 7'9"?
I'm saying 7:10 because that's like 7, but with 10 minutes.
You mean 9?
Yes, 9.
No. 7.
No, well, yeah, we'll do 7.
Okay.
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
7:00.
I went to Costco yesterday, so my refrigerator is all full of like
Oh.
pre-made food that all I have to do is stick it in the oven, and it's gonna be golden. And
I've still got to eat something. Maybe I'll eat
by the
something
way, I don't
plain.
know if you have it at your Costco. Nick, you probably have it at your Costco, but wherever you are out there, Costco makes street tacos, a street taco like a street taco kit. Oh my god, they're so good.
Is it
So good.
better than the Jack in the Box tacos?
One of them you feel better after eating, like spiritually.
It doesn't feel like you just ate a stray cat.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't try not to talk about too much about what goes on in like, our company as far as like clients and stuff, but I will say this. So when we have our staff meetings, we talk about like any possible businesses that we might be in discussions with about that might possibly be needing our services, or who we might be pitching to in the next week or so. And we had somebody brought up that Jack in the Box we were talking to Jack in the Box for a potential contract. And unprompted, my boss. Now keep in mind, my boss is like old money. Like his middle name is Boeing. Yes, that Boeing. Old and lots of money. My boss said, if you're talking to Jack in the Box and there's any discussion about getting rid of the 2 taco deal, we are not taking that contract. And he was dead serious. And everybody else was at the table was like, yeah, they are really good, aren't they? Nobody wants to admit they eat them.
See,
Everybody likes them.
the Jack in the Box tacos transcend class. If we need, this is a
They
revelation.
really, really do.
What
It is
we
it
need
is
to
if you would
heal.
explain to somebody it's deep fried cat food in a shell,
Jeez.
someone will go, that sounds disgusting. And it'd be like, no, man, you gotta try it. Just trust me. There is something about them that they are not anything other than their own food. There's nothing else in the world like them. And they are weirdly, oddly delicious.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to put it on my 2024 bingo card. Jack in the Box tacos somehow heal the American cultural divide.
Really? Yeah. I think that's something that we might be able to do.
If anything could.
You know,
Jack
and
in the Box
we
tacos.
could probably send those over to the Middle East because in that cat food, there is very little meat of any kind. Everybody can eat it. I would be surprised if there's any meat in there. Did I almost make you? It's something that both the Muslims and the Jews and everybody in the world can all agree with. They're pretty damn good.
I'm
and
not having this
everybody can
taco.
eat them.
Don't worry, there's no meat in there.
There is nothing organic in that thing, right down to the shell. No,
It's
it
all
is
synthetic.
100% plastic, ground up plastic, but God, is it good. They are different because they are actually tacos, but the Costco street taco kit is fucking unbelievable. Off the hook, unbelievably good. So that's what I'm eating tonight.
Okay.
Street tacos. Now I'm really hungry. Now I'm
Okay.
no longer hungry for pizza. I'm hungry for street tacos.
Okay, I got to get some food too. I have about an hour.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did make it 3 hours.
Oh, we blew past 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, it was, that makes up for last week that we didn't make it 3 hours.
We did. Actually, you know what? If I
No.
remember correctly, I think the time over 3 hours that we have now compensates for the time under 3
Under
hours.
3 hours that we were last time. So yeah, you're right now. You're still ahead. You're still winning. I know. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We will be back next week. Yeah, might as well throw the music on. Why the hell not? All right, GameHounds out music. Thanks for let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds episode 705. We did record this on Sunday, February 4th, 2024. I'm Edie Sellers with the Nick Nicola. Ways to get a hold of us: gamehounds.net is our website. Gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We record this show live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, is in videos. On Twitch, we are the GameHounds. Please feel free to join us. Thank you to everyone in all the chat rooms who were there. Thank you again, AC Ray, for everything that we talked about. He has provided a link. The link is in the comments of both YouTube and Twitch. So if you want to find something and want to look it up and see our source material, that's where to find it. It is all in the comments. Thank you again, AC Ray, for being our link bitch. You are the best of us, truly. Thank you to everybody who is watching. And don't forget, at 7 p.m. tonight, we will be playing Baldur's Gate together. And maybe even tomorrow night, I might be playing Power World. I might be playing Baldur's Gate. Who knows? But I'll probably try and stream again tomorrow. We are 100% Patreon funded. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much. $1 a month is all we ask. We do about 4 shows a month for every Sunday, so that comes out to 25 cents a show. If you would like to be a patron, it is patreon.com/GameHounds. If you would like to do that, great. If you can't, I get it. I understand. Money's tight everywhere. Something you can do that doesn't cost any money is go ahead and hit the subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. And then also, you can subscribe to us on Twitch as well. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit the thumbs up. It really, really, really does make a difference. By the way, I want to say a shout out to Chunderbox for re-upping his subscription to us again. Holy crap, I think it's been going on now 13 months. You rock! Thank you so much. And if you are an Amazon Prime member and you have not used your free Amazon Prime membership to a channel on Twitch, might I recommend? We would love to have it. It is literally doesn't cost you anything extra. It's a little bit of money to us to help us keep the lights on here. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Be safe, everyone. Stay warm, stay well. We'll see you next week. Bye. All right, I gotta go. I'm hungry for street tacos. I'm now not going to trust Edie saying she'll post them when I'm just learning to trust my flu symptoms. All right, see you at 7.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.